Chapter 581 Hall of Atonement. The moment the possessed Taoists touched the barrier, they were thrown back, but they still kept trying to push through. Su Zimo immediately understood. This barrier is a prison for them, he realized. He didn't bother with those struggling cultivators and instead walked straight toward the largest hall within the temple complex. This great hall stood over 50 meters tall, with a gilded exterior and an oval-shaped dome. At the entrance, 6 red pillars stood tall, and the area was surrounded by iron railings. Su Zimo climbed the steps to the front of the hall. Above the door, a plaque read, Hall of Atonement. He frowned slightly, then pushed open the vermilion doors with a creak and stepped inside. The hall was divided into several rooms. In the room he first entered, 3 statues stood prominently in the front. From left to right, the first statue was entirely brown, except for its pitch-black facial features. Both hands were raised, the left foot grounded while the right foot was lifted forward. The figure wore golden ribbons wrapped around its body. The central statue was a one-eyed lone wolf. Its fur was fiery red, and it lay on a platform in a reclining pose somewhat like a Buddha. It gave off an eerie, bizarre feeling. The right statue was a monk wearing black prayer beads and a dark robe. His entire body was black, including his eyebrows, eyes, and lips, clearly painted with makeup. His ears were especially large, drooping like upside-down leaves. What are they even worshipping here? Su Zimo muttered in confusion. At that moment, a cough echoed through the room. An old man in Taoist robes emerged from one of the side rooms. His face was pale and sickly. He looked weak. "Who are you?" the old man asked sharply, visibly alarmed. "I'm just a traveler passing through the mountain," Su Zimo replied calmly. "Don't joke with me. The mountain's sealed. How did you get up here?" the old man asked coldly. Power from the god Meridian realm radiated from his body as he eyed Su Zimo warily. "I'm heading to the Nine Lands region and passed by this place. And I didn't see any seal," Su Zimo replied. "To get to the Nine Lands region, you should have taken another path. This mountain, White Sage Mountain, has been sealed for years. Don't you know that?" the old man said. "I've never been here before. I came with others." Su Zimo shrugged. He then asked, "You're Master Universe? You're clearly not just some passerby if you know my name." Master Universe squinted suspiciously. "Relax, your disciple Deepfeather told me," Su Zimo replied. "It was him who brought you here," Master Universe murmured, falling silent. He looked conflicted, and Su Zimo sensed killing intent from him. The old man struggled between killing and sparing Su Zimo, but after a long pause he sighed. "Stay here tonight. Leave first thing in the morning," Master Universe said quietly. "This Black Demon Temple sure is lively," Su Zimo said with a smirk. "Leave and forget everything you saw. It's better for you that way," Master Universe replied. "Don't get involved. Just pretend nothing happened." "So you're not going to explain anything?" Su Zimo asked. "What's the point? Just stay put." Master Universe sat cross-legged on a prayer mat and began chanting softly. Su Zimo didn't press him. If the old man didn't want to talk, there was no point forcing it. But he remained curious about the beings they were worshipping. He didn't leave the hall but instead explored the other rooms. Master Universe didn't try to stop him. Each room was similar, filled with statues of strange creatures Su Zimo had never heard of. It didn't feel like a Taoist temple at all. The night passed in silence. As dawn broke, the temple bell rang 3 times again. Master Universe had been sitting there the entire night. When the bell rang, he stood and walked out of the hall with Su Zimo. "Master!" a voice called out as a chubby Taoist appeared. Su Zimo recognized him. It was one of the possessed he saw last night trying to escape through the barrier, just like Deepfeather. "Master, there's an outsider here?" The chubby Taoist looked at Su Zimo in surprise. "Don't worry about it. Just clean the Hall of Atonement this morning," Master Universe said calmly. The Taoist nodded, humming a little tune as he entered the hall. Su Zimo noticed the man's demeanor was completely different from last night, like he had a split personality. This temple's getting more and more interesting, Suzumo muttered with a smile. Master Universe didn't respond. He led Suzumo back to the Hall of Far Guests and told the group to leave immediately. When Suzumo returned, he found Caillou and their attendants chatting with Deep Feather. Sister Yu, why did you tie me up? Deep Feather asked, confused. Before she could answer, Suzumo and Master Universe walked in. Master, Deep Feather called out, shrinking back a little. Leave, Master Universe said coldly to Caillou and the others, looking increasingly grim. Caillou looked at Suzumo, who shook his head slightly. Deep Cloud, Master Universe called. Here, Master! A voice shouted from afar. Soon, a man in a black cloak came running. He looked plain, except for his unusually large ears that resembled folding screens. Escort them down the mountain, Master Universe instructed. Then, turning to Deep Feather, he said, You're coming with me to the Hall of Atonement. With that, he flicked his sleeve and walked off, not sparing another glance. Everyone, this way please, Deep Cloud said with a smile. Suzumo didn't say much. He and Caillou followed him down the mountain. Since I was a kid, this is the first time I've seen outsiders come up here, Deep Cloud said curiously. What were you doing last night? Suzumo asked him. Nothing. I was just meditating and then went to sleep, Deep Cloud replied warmly. Looks like none of them remember a thing, Suzumo thought, narrowing his eyes. Chapter 582, Dancing with Demons. Deep Cloud escorted everyone down the mountain and smiled. I can't leave the temple grounds. This is where we part ways. Goodbye. Caillou nodded in farewell. Suzumo felt something was off but couldn't quite figure out what. He glanced deeply in the direction of White Sage Mountain, then turned and left. That black demon temple really is creepy, Caillou commented. What happened last night? How did things turn out like that? I'm not sure either. Let's head to Black Demon City first, Suzumo said, then turned to her and asked, What are your plans after this? Although my Kai clan is gone, I still have an aunt in the Nine Lands region. I plan to seek her out, Caillou answered honestly. In that case, we'll part ways once we reach Black Demon City, Suzumo nodded. Caillou paused for a moment, gently squeezing the edge of her clothes, then nodded slightly. The legend of the Black Demon Temple saving this region seemed true. It was well known throughout Black Demon City. Of course, everyone had heard of the temple, but because White Sage Mountain had long been sealed, no one had visited the temple in many years. To reach the Nine Lands region from the Dragon Ridge Mountains, one didn't need to cross White Sage Mountain. A nearby mountain road existed. Though steep, they crossed it by noon. In the distance, the outline of Black Demon City slowly emerged. It looked like a colossal demon, its body cast in black iron, standing mightily upon the earth. As Suzumo approached the city gates, he could faintly make out the scenery inside. On top of the thick city walls stood numerous small statues of little demons, each with unique expressions and forms. Looking at them, Suzumo was reminded of the figures worshipped in Black Demon Temple. The heavy city gates were wide open. Between the twin doors, a small demon statue acted as a door handle. Inside, the bustling scene was surprisingly comforting. The streets were crowded, with merchants yelling and people haggling. Where are you headed, young master? Caillou asked. I plan to visit the Void Valley, Suzumo replied. But I'm not familiar with the area, so I'll stay here in the city for a bit to gather information. That works out. I need to send word to my aunt first, Caillou said. She lives quite far, and I don't dare travel alone anymore. I'll wait until she sends someone to pick me up. Let's find an inn to rest at first. Suzumo agreed, and the two found an inn in the city, booking 2 separate rooms. Caillou, not trusting the servants who accompanied her, dismissed them all. Back in his room, Suzumo had just entered when Paimon's figure slowly emerged. All right, talk. What's going on? Suzumo asked. The statues in the Black Demon Temple and on the city walls are modeled after our ancient demon race, Paimon explained. Even though I didn't sense any demonic energy, I still recognize those figures. Demon statues? Suzumo was stunned. Yes, they're newly initiated demons, still very weak, Paimon replied. What about the people in the Black Demon Temple? Can you tell what's happening with them? Su Zimo asked. Not exactly, Paimon said after a moment of thought. There's a kind of energy inside them very similar to our demonic aura, but not quite the same. It's likely that this strange aura is what caused them to turn into that state. Things are definitely getting more interesting, Su Zimo said. The Black Demon Temple is definitely hiding something. If you want, I can go investigate, Chaos offered. No rush. We'll check it out slowly after I return from the Void Valley, Su Zimo replied. There wasn't anything particularly unusual about Black Demon City itself. In the afternoon, Su Zimo gathered information about the Void Valley. It was located 300 miles east of the city. The Void Wood and Void Leaves from that valley were highly prized across the Ninelands region and sold for sky-high prices. Because of that, many rogue cultivators risked going there, despite the dangers, hoping to strike it rich. However, in the past 2 years, several major imperial lineages had started regulating access to the valley. Rogue cultivators weren't banned outright, but they needed a permit to enter. Permits were only issued in larger cities. Black Demon City wasn't one of them. Even after years of exploration by many who risked their lives, no one had reported seeing creatures like the Void Spirit monkeys. Still, Su Zimo believed Zhang Yun wouldn't lie to him. The monkeys must be extremely rare. Once he collected maps and intel on the valley, Su Zimo returned to the inn to resume his strength training. By dusk, he joined Caillou for dinner at her invitation. Did you know? Caillou said between bites. I asked around about the Black Demon Temple. What did you hear? Su Zimo asked. Both the temple and this city aren't under any faction's control, she explained. There really was something called the Black Demon long ago, but it was only around for a short time. Before the imperial lineages could react, they vanished. She added with interest, and the Black Demon Temple used to be called White Sage Temple, just like the mountain. What was the Black Demon? Su Zimo asked. Did you find out? Not really. Very few people saw it back then. Most have forgotten. Caillou shook her head. All right, better not dig too deep. This stuff never leads to anything good, Su Zimo warned. Got it, Caillou nodded. I just feel bad for little Xianyu. Leave it to me, Su Zimo said. Outside, the sky gradually darkened. The inn was still lively. Most guests remained in the main hall, chatting away. A pale moon peeked through the clouds above Black Demon City. Just then, a chilling scream pierced the air outside. The sound was horrifying, cutting through the noise of the inn and plunging the place into sudden silence. What was that? Someone put down their drink, frowning. No idea. Let's go check. Before anyone could move, a blood-soaked figure stumbled into the inn. The figure collapsed just past the doorway, gasping out a single word, "Help," before losing consciousness on the floor. Chapter 583, Demons Attack the City. What is going on? The innkeeper shouted in alarm. Right after, a wave of low growls echoed from outside, growls so eerie they sent chills down the spine. Su Zimo, seated by the window, dashed out of the inn with a single step. He headed toward the city gates, only to see a dark mass of creatures flooding in from that direction. There were at least 1,000 of them. Some of the city's guards were fleeing, while others had already fallen to the monstrous onslaught. What are those things? Someone whispered nearby. These creatures looked humanoid, but their skin was partly decayed, and their eyes glowed a deep crimson. Black Demon City responded quickly. City Lord Iron Tiger arrived with a large force. The moment he saw the invading monsters, his pupils constricted sharply. After a long silence, he spoke each word heavily and solemnly. Black Demons. As the City Lord of Black Demon City, he possessed a map that had been passed down through generations of lords, an illustrated account of the ancient Black Demon invasion. Now, staring at the chaos before him, Iron Tiger recognized it all too clearly. Every scene from that ancient map was surfacing from the depths of memory. Evacuate all citizens below the desolate Meridian realm. Have them scatter and hide. The rest, come with me to meet the enemy. Iron Tiger barked orders and dispatched messengers to request reinforcements. Seeing all this, Su Zimo muttered, "Black Demon Temple." He didn't linger. Without another word, he soared toward the temple. Along the way, the tide of black demons kept growing. Su Zimo followed the direction of their surge. It led straight to the Black Demon Temple. After more than an hour of travel through the air, he finally arrived at the foot of White Sage Mountain. The offering altar at the base had been toppled. As he stepped onto the white jade staircase, he sensed fluctuations of spiritual energy. "A seal," he muttered after a moment of concentration, looking up toward the mountain. The seal had been torn open here. No doubt the black demons entered the city through this breach. But many details still puzzled him. Hurrying up the mountain, Su Zimo found the temple wall on the left side had collapsed. One crimson door still swayed in the wind. The other had vanished. Inside was a mess. A few black demons still roamed the temple grounds. Su Zimo rushed into the Hall of Atonement. At the front of the hall, a barrier blocked his path. Inside the barrier, Master Universe was engaged in battle with a black demon. This black demon was unlike the others. It barely resembled a human anymore. Its skin was pitch black, and its power surged at the level of the God Meridian realm. Even worse, its body was incredibly resilient. Master Universe's attacks barely scratched it. He was being overpowered. Su Zimo examined the barrier. Ordinary God Meridian cultivators wouldn't be able to break it. Only someone at the immortal path could do it. He slowly drew the curved blade from his waist. All 8 of his Meridian gates flared open. He unleashed Samsara Reversal. Boundless spirit force roared like a storm. With a thunderous boom, his blade surged with boundless intent and the crushing power of Samsara, shattering the barrier to pieces. Inside, Master Universe's expression changed the moment he saw Su Zimo. He roared, "Why are you here? Are you misunderstanding something?" Su Zimo frowned at his outburst and asked, "You're with Deep Feather, aren't you?" Master Universe shouted in anger, "Even if I die here today, I won't let you get away with this." "With Deep Feather? What happened to him?" Su Zimo frowned deeper. "Black Demon City is under attack, so I came here looking for clues. If you hadn't brought demon incense into Black Demon City, how would the fiends have found it?" Master Universe growled, struggling to hold off the fiend. "Demon incense? What are you talking about?" Su Zimo asked, confused. Then something clicked in his mind. He quickly pulled out a sachet from his robes, something Deep Feather had given him yesterday, supposedly blessed for good fortune. Opening it, a pungent fragrance burst out. Inside was a fine black powder. "This is demon incense powder." Still denying it, Master Universe said, "The black demons tracked it here by scent." In that moment, Su Zimo began to piece together the entire story. There was a sealing formation on the mountain. How had they even gotten on to White Sage Mountain? And right after arriving, they ran into Deep Feather, who then gave them the sachets. "Let's talk. What the hell is going on?" Su Zimo said calmly. He glanced at the fiend still fighting Master Universe, then slashed. His blade howled as it cut through the air, splitting the fiend clean in two. Master Universe paused in shock, then quickly realized what had happened. "You're not with them?" he asked again. "If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't be standing," Su Zimo said flatly. "Then let's go back and help defend Black Demon City. Any later and the city might fall," Master Universe urged. "Not until you explain." "I'll protect that city," Su Zimo replied coldly. "What do you want to know?" Master Universe asked, frowning. "The secrets of Black Demon Temple," Su Zimo said. "Tell me everything, exactly as it is." "Can't we save lives first?" Master Universe asked.
No.
"Tell me, what's your connection to the ancient demon race?" Su Zimo pressed. "You know about the ancient demon race?" Master Universe paused in surprise. "Talk." Su Zimo nodded. Master Universe's gaze grew serious. He fell into brief silence. "Every second you stay quiet, the risk of the city's fall increases. Su Zimo warned. A sin. All of it. Our sin, and now we must atone. Master Universe said bitterly. He turned to Su Zimo and began. I don't know how much you know about the ancient demon race, but they are a primeval race. They existed long before the primordial heartlands even formed. They have endured one era after another. What do they have to do with you? Su Zimo asked. Thousands of years ago, this city was called White Sage City, and this place was the White Sage Temple. The temple trained disciples, and the city housed their families. Master Universe continued slowly. One day, long ago, our Grandmaster journeyed to the Void Valley to find Void Wood for his disciples. Chapter 584, Truth of Black Demon Temple. You should know about Void Valley, Master Universe began. No matter how powerful a being is, they can't withstand the void storms inside it. My Grandmaster chose a relatively calm day to enter the valley. But who would have thought disaster would strike unexpectedly? Not long after he went in, he was swept up by a void storm. We all thought he was dead. But 10 years later, he suddenly returned to White Sage Temple. Only then did we learn that the void storm didn't kill him. Instead, it tore through dimensional space and sent him into another world. Another world? Su Zimo frowned slightly. You mean a world outside of the primordial heartlands? I'm not too sure either, Master Universe said, shaking his head. After he returned, Grandmaster often mumbled to himself. He said the universe is made up of countless worlds. The primordial heartlands are considered a minor world, while the outer heavens are part of a greater one. Everyone seeks to transcend the Tao, to escape the river of fate, but in the end, it's just a personal struggle. Master Universe continued. In that other world, he stumbled upon a site of ancient inheritance, a legacy of the ancient demon race. Su Zimo's brows furrowed. Things were more complicated than he had imagined. That was the first time we learned of these creatures called demons. The site contained many of their cultivation methods and meridian techniques. Master Universe paused for a while, then sighed. All the tragedy started with a manual called the Ancient Demon Tao. Ancient Demon Tao, Su Zimo repeated, thinking to himself that he would ask Paimon about it later. The ancient demon race has a unique spirit force called Infernal Force. According to that manual, anyone who can cultivate Infernal Force will be acknowledged by the ancient demon race. And this Infernal Force is of a high-grade nature. Cultivating it would mean a massive leap in personal strength, Master Universe explained. Su Zimo nodded. Though Radiant Stones were a natural counter to Infernal Force, it was still far superior to common elemental energies like fire. So this is how the Black Demons were created? Su Zimo guessed. Master Universe nodded. Our obsession with power led Grandmaster to begin experimenting with Infernal Force. He fell silent for a long moment before saying one word at a time. To keep the experiment a secret, back then, White Sage Temple was just a minor sect we didn't dare test on outsiders. So we turned to the families in White Sage City. The disciples didn't object? Su Zimo asked with a frown. Those people in the city were their own family, after all. White Sage Temple sealed itself off. All dissenters were captured and turned into test subjects, Master Universe said in pain. Everyone was obsessed. They believed that with Infernal Force, the temple could become one of the strongest powers in the world. All sacrifices made now would be worth it. That's extreme, Su Zimo muttered, shaking his head. Isn't it? Master Universe said with a sigh. By the time we realized our mistake, it was already too late. Most of White Sage Temple had been infected by this strange energy. Many died, and those who survived became black demons. Master Universe sighed again. A few centuries ago, the number of black demons had grown massive. They broke through the temple's defenses and launched a massacre on Black Demon City below. Our Grandmaster led us down the mountain to exterminate the demons. That battle wiped out most of them. But they were our own disciples. After that, we had no choice but to seal off White Sage Mountain for eternity. Grandmaster renamed the temple to Black Demon Temple and the main hall to the Hall of Atonement, to constantly remind us of our sins. He went back to Void Valley, hoping to return to that other world and find a cure. He never came back. Centuries have passed. I am now the Temple Master, and I fear I may be the only sane person left in Black Demon Temple. Where did the current black demons come from? Su Zimo asked. When I came yesterday, there were only a dozen people in the temple. Those disciples can still resist the influence of infernal force during the day. Only at night do they turn. That's why I let them out during daylight hours. The others, the ones who've lost their minds completely, I've locked away in the underground prison. Tell me about Deepfeather, Su Zimo said. He's a tragic child. His parents died during that black demon rampage. He was bitten and infected with infernal force too. He was still a baby then. I saved him with all my strength and took him in as a disciple, hoping to raise him well. But somehow he learned about what really happened back then. He's been plotting to destroy this place ever since. So I was just his pawn. That's great, Su Zimo said with a slight laugh. Sigh. This is all our doing, Master Universe said with regret. Please, fellow cultivator, help me save the people of the city. Saving them isn't my concern. But I will kill him, Su Zimo replied calmly. He rose into the air, flying with Master Universe toward Black Demon City. Night had fallen. A crescent moon hung in the sky, casting its dim light over the world. By now, Black Demon City had become hell on earth. There were simply too many black demons. The people who had resisted bravely at first were now retreating. The black demons were slaughtering indiscriminately. Mindless and savage, they attacked any living creature they encountered. The city was engulfed in chaos. It would not sleep tonight. When the two arrived, Master Universe closed his eyes in agony at the sight before him. He swung his sword. Although the black demons were many, their power was still far from the God Meridian realm. He cut them down one by one, each strike felling a former disciple turned monster. The arrival of two God Meridian realm cultivators revived hope for the city. The people fought through the night. By dawn, the number of black demons had dropped significantly. But a terrifying problem remained: mutated infernal force. Once it entered another's body, it would either kill them or turn them into more black demons. If they weren't eradicated quickly, they might become impossible to eliminate. Deepfeather, come out. I know you're nearby, Master Universe shouted, rising into the air and scanning the area. If you dared to do it, then stop hiding. I have no need to hide. The one who's truly hiding is you. A voice echoed from beyond the city. Master Universe looked over and saw Deepfeather, dressed in a black robe. Chapter 585, The Second Demon. Standing atop a high slope, Deepfeather was surrounded by over a dozen black demons. These black demons exuded powerful auras and stood silently, guarding him on all sides. Cowards hiding in the dark, Deepfeather spat disdainfully. The truth of Black Demon City. How much longer do you plan to keep it buried? How do you know about that? Master Universe asked with a frown. By all logic, as long as no one spoke of it, the disciples who transformed at night would remember nothing the next day. If you didn't want others to know, you shouldn't have done it, Deepfeather replied coldly. You dare call yourself my teacher after all these decades? You're not worthy. We can talk this through, Master Universe said. I will take responsibility for the sins we committed. There's no need to unleash these black demons. The innocent should not suffer. Innocent or not, what does that have to do with me? Deepfeather said angrily. I'll make sure the truth about the black demons is known to the world. I'll destroy Black Demon Temple completely. You people deserve to be condemned for thousands of years. Sigh. If that's how it is, then as your master, I have no choice but to act. Master Universe shook his head. God Meridian realm energy surged around him as he launched a suppression strike at Deepfeather. Deepfeather snorted coldly. At that moment, a black aura swirled around him. The aura transformed into a twisted, menacing face behind his back. Infernal force, Master Universe exclaimed, immediately understanding. You've mastered the ancient demon Tao? Where did you get that technique? Surprised, Deep Feather sneered and waved his hand. His infernal force surged outward, wrapping around the dozen black demons nearby. These black demons had endured suppression for thousands of years, and their infernal force had reached terrifying levels. With his aura entangling them, Deep Feather seemed able to control them. Their infernal force surged violently as they charged at Master Universe. Watching Master Universe surrounded, Deep Feather sneered, "My dear Master, I hope you enjoy the gift I've prepared for you. Is this your revenge on the world?" A calm voice spoke from behind. Deep Feather jumped back in shock and turned around. Su Zimo had silently walked up behind him, step by step. "It's you," Deep Feather said with a chuckle. "I should actually thank you. There were too many black demons for me to control alone. If you hadn't brought the demon powder into the city, I wouldn't have been able to start this battle." "Then go thank me in hell," Su Zimo said, stepping forward. Deep Feather's gaze narrowed. He raised his right hand, summoning a roaring black demon from nearby. Su Zimo simply waved his hand. He didn't even draw Shadow Tyrant, his blade. A brilliant arc of sword light burst from the void, slashing the black demon clean in half. Deep Feather's pupils shrank in alarm. Before he could react, Su Zimo's figure had already vanished, moving faster than the eye could follow. In the next instant, he appeared right in front of Deep Feather and grabbed him by the throat, lifting him into the air. "You used me like a pawn?" Su Zimo said coldly. "Who are you?" Deep Feather choked out. "Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is I'm pissed off," Su Zimo said calmly. "Please, let him go," Master Universe shouted, finally breaking free from the surrounding black demons. "Oh," Su Zimo turned his head. "I beg you not to kill him," Master Universe said. "I'm willing to trade my life for his." "I don't need you pretending to be noble in front of me," Deep Feather scoffed. "Child, I admit we made mistakes, horrible ones. I never wanted to escape the consequences," Master Universe said solemnly. "I've worked all these years to make amends, not to erase the past, but to do what I can with the time I have left." "You talk like a saint, but you think I don't know?" Deep Feather said coldly. "All these years, you've been secretly continuing experiments on the black demons. You never stopped." "No," Master Universe shook his head. "I wasn't trying to cultivate infernal force for my own gain. I was looking for a way to remove the infernal force from their bodies, to return them to normal lives." Then he turned to Su Zimo and pleaded, "Sir, if you won't spare him, then I ask just one thing. Before you kill him, let him kill me. That way, he'll have his revenge, and I'll die in peace." Seeing that Su Zimo didn't object, Master Universe handed his sword to Deep Feather. He closed his eyes and said, "Go ahead, kill me. I've been ready for release for a long time." Deep Feather slowly took the sword. He stared at the master who so desperately sought death, silent for a long time. In the end, he tossed the sword aside and said quietly, "If dying could atone for past sins, then there'd be no villains left in this world. Are you two done with the drama yet?" Su Zimo said coolly. "You don't need to kill me. I'm already dying," Deep Feather replied calmly. "Do you know how I learned the ancient demon Tao?" "No." Master Universe shook his head. "Since Grandmaster brought it back, no one has ever succeeded in cultivating it. Even after all these years of effort, it remained useless." "That's because I met a real demon," Deep Feather said. "I sacrificed my soul to him, and he taught me how to use the ancient demon Tao to control the black demons." "A demon?" Master Universe's face changed. How could there be a real demon in Black Demon Temple? After all, he had lived there most of his life and knew everything about the place. "Master, do you remember the period when Grandmaster first returned from Void Valley?" Deep Feather asked. "Although I wasn't born yet, you told me he lived alone in the Back Mountain during that time." "The Back Mountain," Master Universe frowned. The Back Mountain of Black Demon Temple had been abandoned for years. Since Grandmaster left, no one had set foot there. With the temple in decline, only a dozen people remained. "You're saying the demon is in the Back Mountain?" Master Universe asked. One morning, About half a year ago, I woke up and found myself in the back mountain, Deepfeather explained. I accidentally stumbled into the cave where Grandmaster used to live. It was there that the demon revealed the truth to me, the truth about Black Demon Temple. Hearing all this, Suzumo said nothing more. He turned and took to the sky again, flying straight toward Black Demon Temple. He had always been deeply concerned about the ancient demon race. But since arriving here, aside from Paimon, he had yet to encounter a second demon, until now. Chapter 586, Demon 13. Paimon, have you ever heard of the ancient demon Dao? Suzumo asked as they traveled toward Black Demon Temple. My lord may not be fully aware of the current state of the ancient demon race, Paimon replied. In truth, even among us demons, things are far from peaceful. The branch you rule over is the strongest and most orthodox, but there are smaller factions of demons that have gathered separately. To gain more power, they've turned to forbidden techniques, like the ancient demon Dao. It's a forbidden technique? Suzumo asked. Yes, this cultivation method doesn't rely on absorbing the world's spirit force. Instead, it has others cultivate and then absorbs their gains. Paimon explained, the technique is divided into 2 volumes, Alpha and Beta. What Black Demon Temple got their hands on was likely the Beta volume. Are there still other demons in this world? Suzumo narrowed his eyes. There probably are, Paimon said. While the majority of our kind resides in the primordial demon cave, a few stragglers are bound to have escaped. If this demon is tied to the ancient demon Dao, he's likely an enemy, not an ally. You should prepare for that, my lord. I understand. Suzumo nodded. Then he asked, what about the other world that Black Demon Temple's founder supposedly visited? Do you know anything about it? I don't. Paimon shook his head. Since the fall of the blessed epoch, I know little about this new epoch. But the universe is vast. Other worlds wouldn't be surprising. The two moved swiftly. Within moments, they had arrived once again at Black Demon Temple. At this time, the temple radiated a desolate and lifeless atmosphere. Passing through hall after hall and empty corridors, Suzumo made his way to the abandoned back mountain. The area wasn't very large, overgrown with weeds and tangled vines. Clearly, no one had been here for a very long time. As Suzumo walked through the thicket, Paimon closed his eyes, sensing the air. After a moment, he opened them and said, there was definitely infernal force here, even though it's well hidden. Can you find its location? Suzumo asked. It's up ahead, Paimon replied, leading them deeper into the back mountain. The farther they went, the more the vegetation withered around them. More and more of it looked dead. It was springtime. This was clearly unnatural. After 10 or so minutes, they arrived in front of a cave. The cave was dark and hard to see into, shaped like an overturned bowl. Jagged rocks surrounded the entrance. Inside, there was the faint sound of dripping water. This is the place, Paimon said. He's hidden himself well. I can't detect much else. Then let's take a look, Suzumo said. The two entered the cave. Though it was pitch black, their cultivation was high enough that darkness didn't impair their vision. The cave was man-made, though age had worn it down so much it now looked natural. Drops of water still dripped from the cracks between the stones. The cave wasn't deep. After a few minutes, the narrow passage opened into a wide hall. Along the walls, spaced at intervals, were carved demon faces. In the eyes of each face, a ghostly blue flame burned. The flames pushed back the darkness of the hall significantly. Suzumo examined the space more closely. It was coated in thick cobwebs, a sign that no one had disturbed it in years. In the center was a deep pit about the size of a pool. Inside the pit, black water boiled and churned like it was being heated by an invisible fire, bubbling constantly. Around this black pool, a massive pentagram array was inscribed on the ground. Each point of the star was marked by a different color: red, yellow, green, blue, and gold. At the very center of the pentagram, everything was pure black. Other than this setup, the hall appeared mostly unremarkable. Suzimo walked up to the black pool. He could feel the thick presence of infernal force within it. But it wasn't just infernal force, it also contained many other strange energies. "He's healing," Paimon said after observing it for a while. "Then he won't be leaving anytime soon." Suzimo smirked, then stood up. He scanned the hall carefully, closed his eyes, and began to sense. Sure enough, before long he detected a disturbance in the void. Though faint, he was almost certain it was a spatial node. A spatial node was essentially a coordinate in space. To move from one place to another through the void, you needed this kind of fixed point. "Let's go in," Suzimo said to Paimon. The two tore open the fabric of space in front of them and stepped through. Suzimo could feel the pressure of the void surrounding him. Following the spatial coordinates, they traveled toward the far end. The distance wasn't too great. After about 10 minutes, Suzimo spotted a glowing point of light ahead. Both of them entered the light. Suddenly, their surroundings changed. They had entered another world. It was a small world, surrounded by emptiness. In front of them stood a lone mountain. The mountain was bare, no vegetation, just a towering, lonely peak in the void. From below, it didn't seem particularly majestic. But at the summit, infernal force churned endlessly, saturating the realm. It spread outward in waves, centered on the mountain top. "Let's go see what kind of being we're dealing with," Suzimo said with a grin. The two of them soared up the mountain, reaching the summit in just a few breaths. At the top, the wind howled fiercely. A figure stood in the swirling infernal force, seemingly in the middle of cultivation. As Suzimo and Paimon arrived, the figure slowly turned to face them. The surrounding infernal force grew even more intense. It was an old man, thin to the point of being skeletal. His face had no flesh, only skin stretched tightly over bone. His sunken eyes glowed eerily as he stared at them. He wore a black robe and held a demon staff. The top of the staff was blue, sparkling like a crystal. "Well, hello?" Suzimo greeted with a smile. "Who are you?" the old man asked in a hoarse voice. 18 demon tribes. What tribe are you from?" Paimon asked coldly. "The 18 tribes. Such ancient memories," the old man murmured. "Since the ancient demon race was sealed, I haven't thought of tribes at all. My name now is Demon 13. You've come at just the right time. The energy you carry, it's very tempting." Paimon snorted coldly and raised his right hand, then immediately launched a suppression strike at the old man. Chapter 587, The Night Terror. From Paimon's raised right hand, dense infernal force formed a massive, grimacing face twisted in despair. The very space around them began to collapse under the force of this power. Seeing this, the old man snorted coldly. This miniature world wasn't naturally formed by the heavens and earth, it was artificially created. So once it began to collapse, it wouldn't repair itself. It would continue to deteriorate until reaching a critical threshold, at which point the small world would be destroyed completely and absorbed into the void. The old man lightly tapped his staff against the ground. Bang! A wave of infernal force rippled outward, centered around him. The blue crystal atop his staff suddenly shone brightly, forming a protective barrier all around them. Paimon's strike landed on the barrier, but all its force was deflected. "So you're from the Samadhi demon tribe," Paimon said in realization. The moment his power touched the barrier, he sensed its origin. The so-called Samadhi demons cultivated 3 elemental forms of infernal force: Samadhi fire, Samadhi wind, Samadhi water. This particular barrier was forged using both water and wind elements. The old man didn't respond. Instead, he struck the staff again, and its top turned fiery red. A massive sea of flames erupted, dyeing the entire small world crimson. Then came a howling windstorm, which intensified the flames, causing the fire to grow into a raging inferno. The entire world was ablaze, engulfed in red light. "Shame your cultivation is too weak. Your mastery over the Samadhi elements is far from complete." Paimon shook his head. "If your patriarch were here, then it might be a fair fight." With a casual swipe of his hand, Wisps of Tao energy spiraled around Paimon's palm. In the next instant, the sea of flames was completely suppressed. "Which tribe are you from?" the old man asked, his expression filled with fear and awe. "We don't belong to any tribe. We rule the ancient demon race itself," Paimon said coolly. "I am Paimon, one of the Infernal Lord's 18 infernal archons, the demon of despair." "Infernal archon," the old man murmured, his face paling with anxiety. "How can you be here? Wasn't the primordial demon cave sealed long ago?" "So you haven't forgotten," Paimon snorted. "After the calamity of that era, I was severely wounded and have been recovering here ever since. I haven't left this place for many years," the old man explained quickly. "You were behind what happened at Black Demon Temple?" Su Zimo asked from the side. "Yes," the old man, Demon 13, replied. "When their founder brought me back from the Eternal Lands, I had no choice but to do what I did to recover from my injuries. They were greedy for power, so I took advantage. I'm only asking about Black Demon Temple out of curiosity," Su Zimo said. "Have you met any other demons?"
No.
"After the Great Cataclysm, I awoke alone." Demon 13 shook his head. "But there is one thing you may not know. The ancient demon race's sacred treasure, the Summon Demon Sky Shroud Tree, is still on the Eternal Lands. I couldn't obtain it, and neither will you, unless you find the Infernal Lord himself." "The Ancestor Tree is on the Eternal Lands?" Paimon asked in surprise. "I thought it was destroyed in the Cataclysm. Seems we'll need to visit the Eternal Lands." "We'll deal with that later. I won't make things difficult for you," Su Zimo said calmly. "Just purge the infernal force from the people at Black Demon Temple." Demon 13 nodded without objection. "My injuries have mostly healed anyway. Let's go," Su Zimo said, turning to Paimon. "Wait, young master," Demon 13 called out from behind. He waved his hand, and space in the small world fully collapsed. A pure black carriage burst forth from the void. Pulling the carriage was a black beast. Its head resembled that of a horse, but it had large, black wings spreading behind it like a canopy over the sky. Its fur was like scales, layered and plaited around its body. A single pitch-black horn protruded from its forehead, and its deep, shadowed eyes stared intently at Su Zimo. "This is a night terror, evolved from an undead warhorse," Demon 13 said with a smile. "I noticed you didn't have a carriage for your travels. This one happens to be free. I'd like to gift it to you." Su Zimo looked at the night terror and smiled without saying a word. It was indeed a rare and excellent mount, likely a relic of the previous epoch. That it had survived until now was remarkable. "But this carriage lacks a driver," Demon 13 added politely. "An infernal archon like Lord Paimon is clearly above such work. So, would young master allow me to take on the role?" Su Zimo chuckled. Clearly, the old demon was trying to secure a place for himself. Paimon, one of the 18 infernal archons, showed Su Zimo full respect. It made sense for Demon 13 to take his chances. After all, there was no future for him stuck in this crumbling world. He was the last of the demons he knew. Meeting kin again was no small event. "Hop on then," Su Zimo said with a grin, stepping into the night terror's carriage. Inside, the decorations were distinctively demonic. Though the carriage looked small from the outside, its interior held a spatial array. There was a bed inside, and a table set with all kinds of demonic cuisine. The whole structure was made from ghost wood, a material favored by demons, warm, durable, and comfortable. Demon 13 drove the night terror into the sky, heading out of the small world. They first returned to Black Demon City, where Demon 13 used the original alpha volume of the ancient demon Tao to extract the infernal force from the afflicted. Though this method was dangerous, it gave them a fighting chance to survive. Before heading to Void Valley, they needed to stop by the nearest major city to obtain a void travel permit. The closest large city near Black Demon City was Tower City. Riding the night terror, Demon 13 guided the carriage toward Tower City, bathed in the warmth of spring wind. When speaking of Tower City, one must understand the layout of the Nine Lands region. The Nine Lands region didn't refer to literal lands or provinces, but to 9 colossal cities, the largest in the region. They were arranged strategically across the land, forming a unique triangular defense network, like the corners of a divine array. Tower City was one of these 9, and one of the most famous. As the carriage moved along the main road, Demon 13 kept himself hidden beneath a wide black cloak, silently driving the cart. The imposing presence of the Night Terror naturally drew countless gazes, but no one dared to approach or block their way. So, just like that, several dozen days passed. Eventually, the carriage reached the borders of Tower City. During that time, Su Zimo had been immersed in cultivation. His control over his power had reached yet another new level. Chapter 588 Nanmen Tianhong. The massive city of Tower loomed like an ancient beast from primordial times, sprawled across the land. Tower City had a long and rich history. Its ancient architecture gave off a powerful and timeless aura, surrounding the entire city. The scale of the city was immense. It stretched far beyond what the eye could see. It was wide, old, and deeply rooted in history. As one of the largest cities in this region, its prosperity was self-evident. The Night Terror carriage came to a slow stop at the city gates. In Tower City, individual travelers could enter without paying a fee. However, those bringing a mount or carriage were required to pay an entrance tax. Due to the city's enormous size and a population in the tens of millions, strict regulations were in place. After Demon 13 paid the fee, he guided the Night Terror into the city. Su Zimo's plan was to head straight to the office that issued permits for entering the Void Valley. He hadn't intended to stop or rest. Unfortunately, by the time they arrived, the office had already closed for the day. They'd have to wait until tomorrow. Su Zimo stepped down from the carriage, planning to find somewhere to stay for the night. "Did you hear? Our Supreme Tower's Holy Sun is hosting a grand event at Boundless Tower. Every young elite is welcome." "The Holy Sun? You mean Nanmen Tianhong? Who else could it be? Ever since he defeated his older brother, he's become the new Holy Sun of Supreme Tower. You seriously didn't know that? I'm just an ordinary guy. I wouldn't follow this kind of stuff. Honestly, I only heard about it because that fight caused such a stir." As the Night Terror carriage passed by, Su Zimo overheard the street chatter. "Young prodigies of the Nine Lands region, huh? I'm a little curious myself." Su Zimo chuckled and turned to Demon 13. "Go find out where Boundless Tower is. Let's go have a look." Demon 13 nodded and steered the Night Terror forward. The Nine Lands region was filled with numerous, often chaotic powers. Each of the 9 greatest cities housed one superpower. Supreme Tower, with Tower City at its core, was strong enough to rival imperial lineages. Though it hadn't produced an actual emperor, everyone knew it had an ancestor who had reached the immortal path. Among the many miles of fertile land under Supreme Tower's rule, Nanmen Tianhong was easily the most famous figure in recent years. Nanmen was a compound surname. Tianhong, Heavenly Swan, reversed read as Hong Tian, symbolizing a lofty, grand ambition. Rumor had it that it wasn't his birth name. He chose it himself later on. When the Night Terror carriage stopped outside Boundless Tower, Su Zimo stepped down. Tower City lived up to its name. The prosperity and grandeur along the way rivaled very few cities he had seen before. Boundless Tower was one of Tower City's most famous landmarks. It was modeled after the Sky Peak Mountains of Supreme Tower. From afar, the entire tower looked like a solitary peak. White mist floated above, while green tiles and blue bricks surrounded the building, each intricately carved. The tower was steep, loose stones had fallen and settled halfway up, and lush trees covered part of the upper levels. It looked more like a real mountain than a building. At the entrance, 4 large characters were engraved on either side. "Boundless Earth, who will reign supreme." Above the gate, the words "Boundless Tower" were inscribed. The calligraphy resembled a divine dragon ascending to the heavens, vigorous and flowing, yet grounded in strength. Because this gathering was organized under Nanmen Tianhong's name, many young elites from nearby regions had come to attend. To catch a glimpse of these rumored prodigies, crowds of ordinary citizens gathered outside. For cultivators, it wasn't much. But to regular people, these figures were living legends, idols they rarely got to see. Look, that's blazing mountain heaven sword. When a young man dressed in black, with a 3-foot black sword on his back, walked into Boundless Tower, murmurs spread through the crowd. Blazing mountain heaven sword of Lunar Mountain. Makes sense he's here. They've always been allied with Supreme Tower. I heard these elites are all proud and competitive. Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword has always viewed Nanmen Tianhong as his rival. Hey, isn't that woman from Nineland's Immortal Palace? Qingmu Xian? Even she came. The crowd turned toward the voice. A blue and white carriage had stopped in front of Boundless Tower. It was pulled by a Nineland's mystic bird. Also blue and white, radiant and elegant. This was a signature feature of the Nineland's Immortal Palace. From the carriage stepped a woman in blue and white robes. A veil covered her face, but her silhouette revealed a figure so graceful it could stir kingdoms. Her slim waist curved perfectly beneath her flowing robes. She radiated a serene aura, like an immortal descending to the mortal realm. Unworldly and untouchable. The Nineland's Immortal Palace had always been a unique presence in the Ninelands region. They only accepted female disciples and never participated in battles. But no one dared overlook them, because their grandmaster was none other than the celestial emperor Azure Sun, the one who had once unified the Ninelands region, dividing the region into its current form. This Nanmen Tianhong must really carry weight. Even Nineland's Immortal Palace showed up. And that's not just any disciple, if I'm right. She's their current saintess. Qingmu Xian is the saintess now? That's been kept quiet. I never heard about it. All I know is, she's considered the most beautiful woman in the Ninelands region. Qingmu Xian's arrival had already caused quite a stir. But just as the buzz reached its peak, another man approached from the distance. The moment he came into view, all discussion around Qingmu Xian ceased. The crowd fell into stunned silence. This man carried no weapons. He wore a plain Taoist robe, the kind worn by mortals. It was loose-fitting and had no markings. His long black hair was tied into a knot behind his head. He strolled lazily toward Boundless Tower. At the gate, 2 disciples were tasked with checking invitations. Only true prodigies could enter. But when this man approached, no one dared stop him. He entered in silence. Only after he had disappeared inside did the crowd exhale. The demon lord Xiao Mo showed up? And this is just a regular gathering. Doesn't he hate these so-called holy sons and daughters? He's always been a loner. Why would he come? The commotion drew attention from guests outside the domain. Who's Xiao Mo? Someone whispered. Shu, how do you not know the demon lord? Someone else whispered back. You could talk about his deeds for an entire day. Just don't mess with him. He's a madman, secretive and lawless. Doesn't care about any rules. Chapter 589 Sword comes. He doesn't care about worldly rules, someone said. Everything he does depends on his mood. If he's in a good mood, he might save an ordinary person. If he's not, even the holy son of an imperial lineage isn't safe from his blade. Is he really that strong? Someone nearby asked. The first man paused in silence for a few seconds. Finally, he looked up at the horizon and said quietly, in the Ninelands region, 2 sword cultivators are recognized as the strongest of the younger generation. One is sword god Ling Tian. His sword is brutally overbearing. He never sheathes it until it draws blood. The other is Xiao Mo. Rumor has it that in battle, he only needs to shout sword, come, and his blade will pierce through endless space and descend from a distant shore. No one has seen his sword, because everyone who has is already dead. So, is he strong? Even Nanmen Tianhong shows him respect. How does he compare to Xiang Kunlun? Asked a man from Skilyuan region, clearly not convinced. I've heard of Xiang Kunlun's fame too. They've never fought, so who can say? But I still put my money on Xiao Mo, the man replied with a smile. As the crowd discussed, Demon 13 approached slowly in the Night Terror carriage. When it stopped outside Boundless Tower, Su Zimo stepped down. Seeing him, many in the crowd looked puzzled. Who's that? No idea. Probably a prodigy from another region. Well, if he's here at Boundless Tower, he must be someone. The buzz quickly faded though. Compared to the earlier arrivals, Su Zimo's entrance didn't cause much of a stir. Su Zimo walked toward the tower. At the door, 2 guards blocked his path. One smiled politely and said, "Forgive me for not recognizing you, sir, but Boundless Tower has been reserved today by our Holy Sun. Only true prodigies may enter." Su Zimo didn't answer. Demon 13, standing beside him, frowned slightly. With a slight wave of his hand, infernal force swirled in the air, and both guards were lifted into the air, helpless. "My young master's name needs your approval?" Demon 13 said coldly. "Is there any place in this world he can't go?" The 2 guards flailed in the air, unable to respond. Just then, a cold voice came from the side. "What a bunch of nobodies. Do you even know where you are? And you dare cause trouble?" Su Zimo turned his head to see a blue-robed young man walking over. Before Su Zimo could ask, the crowd began whispering. "That's Shin Pancher, isn't it?" "Yeah, even if he's not as famous as the others, his sect, Boulder Sect, is first class. He's trained his immovable mountain technique to the 7th layer. Even an Imperial Meridian cultivator would struggle to harm him." "Kid, do you know where you are?" Shin Pancher said mockingly. "If you don't have what it takes, don't come stirring things up." Su Zimo casually waved a hand, signaling Demon 13 to let the guards go. They dropped to the ground, gasping for air, shaken and pale. "You dare cause trouble at Boundless Tower?" one guard shouted angrily. "What are the qualifications to enter your tower?" Su Zimo asked with a smile. "Our Holy Sun gave clear instructions. Either you're well-known or strong enough," one guard replied. "What about him?" Su Zimo pointed to Shin Pancher, still smiling. "Of course," the guard replied. "Young Master Shen is the Holy Son of Boulder Sect. Maybe not a top-tier prodigy, but well-known in Supreme Tower." Hearing this, Shin Pancher snorted proudly. Su Zimo nodded slightly, then suddenly struck with his palm. The powerful palm descended like a storm. Shin Pancher cried out in shock. "Coward! You only know how to sneak attack." He dodged aside, then stood firm, lowering into a horse stance. His limbs locked into a powerful posture. An earthy yellow spiritual energy surrounded him. He clasped his hands together, raising them high above his head. His stance resembled a mighty mountain, his legs rooted deep into the ground, his aura merging with the earth, as if his entire body had become part of the land itself. "Immovable mountain?" Su Zimo chuckled. Then his palm fell again. Space around it twisted and cracked under the pressure. The palm didn't seem too flashy, but the oppressive force it brought was overwhelming, even before it landed. As it fell, Shin Pancher's clothes began to rip under the pressure. Meridians bulged from his forehead. Blood vessels popped across his skin. His spiritual energy boiled inside like scalding water. His eyes bulged wide, looking like they were about to explode. Then the world flickered. Boom! Shin Pancher's body exploded. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. And the terrifying part? Su Zimo's palm hadn't even fully descended. There were still several meters of space between them. Turning his head, Su Zimo wiped his hand and smiled. "Can I go in now?" he asked the stunned guard. "Why, yes, of course," the guard stammered, frozen. Su Zimo shook his head lightly and entered Boundless Tower with Demon 13. Boundless Tower had 13 floors, and Nanmen Tianhong had reserved the entire building. From the 1st to the 13th floor, it was all being used to host the gathering of young prodigies. The lower floors were quieter. Most of the real elites had gone up to the 13th floor. That was where the true gathering was happening. As Su Zimo stepped inside, the first floor glowed with golden light, filled with jewels and luxury. He didn't care for such a lavish atmosphere. He ascended the stairs, crafted from South Heaven wood, and engraved with the words, ascending cloud steps. After winding through the steps, he arrived on the second floor. It was much more elegant and refined. At the center lay a clear lake, filled with blooming lotuses and swimming fish. Around the lake were numerous pavilions, built to encircle the water. Gentle breezes blew through the open-air structures. "Let's sit here for a bit," Suzumo said. "You're not going to the 13th floor, young master?" Demon 13 asked curiously. "No point right now," Suzumo laughed. "I don't know any of the so-called prodigies from the Nine Lands region anyway." Chapter 590, The Conflict. The two sat quietly in a lakeside pavilion. In front of them, the lake was clear and emerald green, with a few strands of aquatic plants floating near the shore. "How do you reach the eternal lands you mentioned?" Suzumo asked Demon 13 casually, nibbling on some rare fruits laid out on the table. "The eternal lands are a particle world with a firm spatial barrier. You can't just come and go at will," Demon 13 replied, shaking his head. "Unless you encounter a void storm in the Void Valley, there's a slight chance of being swept into it. Otherwise, you'd have to head to the outer heavens and find another way." "Have you heard of the Void Spirit Monkey?" Suzumo asked. "Never." Demon 13 shook his head again. Failing to get any useful info, the two continued chatting idly. Suddenly, a gentle fragrance drifted in from afar. They looked up and saw Qingmu Xian, the saintess of Nine Lands' immortal palace, descending the ascending cloud steps and arriving on the second floor. She settled gracefully into a pavilion next to Suzumo's. She was accompanied by two other women, one round-faced and friendly-looking, the other in striking red robes. "Xian, don't take it so seriously. Maybe Nanmen Tianhong and the others were just joking," said the round-faced woman, Ing Yuanyu, and, trying to console her. "If not for my master's request, I wouldn't have come," Qingmu Xian replied coldly. "These worldly men, how many can compare to our ancestor? I mean, cultivation isn't just about meditation. There's wealth, companions, technique, and environment. You need all four. The path of the Tao is long. Don't you think it's better to walk it with someone?" "I think Nanmen Tianhong would be a fine Tao companion," said the red-robed woman with a teasing smile. Her makeup was heavy, her robe striking, her presence boldly seductive. "Hong Rong, you really need to stop saying that. If you like him so much, you can go chase him yourself," Qingmu Xian replied indifferently, then turned back to enjoy the scenery. "I would if he showed interest," Hong Rong laughed behind her hand. Time passed, and the second floor grew more crowded as more pavilions filled up. Suddenly, a young man with a black sword on his back walked towards Suzumo's pavilion. It was Blazing Mountain Heaven, sort of lunar mountain, the same prodigy people had discussed outside Boundless Tower earlier. His expression was calm as he entered the pavilion. But when he saw Hong Rong, his face lit up with a shy smile. "Hong-er," he said softly. "Master you, what do you want?" Hong Rong's expression turned cold immediately. "Nothing much. I just heard you were here and came to see you," Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword replied, sounding sincere. "Well, if there's nothing else, you should leave. Don't interrupt my conversation with this young master," she smiled sweetly, turning to Suzumo. Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword's expression darkened. He glanced at Suzumo and asked, "Do you like him?" "Don't talk nonsense." Hong Rong looked flustered, cheeks turning pink. She glanced at Suzumo and whispered, "I just felt a connection with him. That's all. He hasn't agreed yet." Then she turned and fled back to her pavilion, leaving Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword standing alone with a complicated look on his face. "Huh? Did I just get confessed to?" Suzumo blinked, then chuckled. "Seems like it," Demon 13 nodded. Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword stood in silence for a long time before sighing deeply. He looked at Suzumo and said, "I hope you treat her well." "Don't worry. I'll do my best," Suzumo replied with a smile. In the neighboring pavilion, Qingmu Xian frowned slightly at the scene. "Hong Rong, you're playing with people again. Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword is truly devoted. If you never cared, why provoke him in the first place? Isn't it fun?" Hong Rong laughed. Two men fighting over you, what woman wouldn't enjoy that? Too bad Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword turned out to be a coward. So much for being a sword prodigy. She shook her head and added, We women have beauty. What else are we supposed to use it for, if not to make men fall? I'm not a cold virgin like you, elder sister. Watching Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword's defeated expression, Su Zimo turned to Demon 13. What are you waiting for? Since that red-dressed girl likes me so much, we can't let her down. Can we? It's getting late, go find a room and invite the lady over. Tonight, I'll talk to her about the meaning of life. Maybe recite some poems. As you wish, young master. Demon 13 nodded, then headed to the neighboring pavilion. Although it was still evening outside, the inside of Boundless Tower was brightly lit. Red lanterns hung around the pavilions. A bright moon slowly emerged through the mist above, casting soft light below. Peaceful music drifted through the air. Demon 13 stepped into the pavilion and looked at Hong Rong. My young master invites you, he said. Hong Rong smiled smugly but shook her head. Tell your master I'm not feeling well today. Maybe another time. That won't do. My master gave the order, so I have to follow it. Better come with me, Demon 13 replied. And if I refuse? Hong Rong asked, eyes narrowing. Demon 13 didn't reply. Dark infernal force swirled around him as he reached out to grab her. Hong Rong's eyes sharpened. The red silk of her robe shimmered as dozens of spirit silk ribbons burst forth. The ribbons twisted and wrapped together, trying to bind Demon 13's hand. But with a flash of Samadhi flame, Demon 13's hand ignited in black fire, instantly burning the silk ribbons to ash. He struck out again with his palm. Hong Rong finally panicked. Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword, help me, she screamed. Just as Demon 13's palm was about to strike, a sharp clang echoed nearby. A sword draw rang through the air. A flash of sword light, fast as lightning, slashed toward Demon 13. Chapter 591 3 Moves. Demon 13 waved his right hand, instantly extinguishing the sword light in his palm. Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword quickly pulled the red-robed woman aside to safety. Demon 13 turned and saw Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword standing there, hair flowing, eyes fixed on him. The sword on Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword's back had already been drawn. It was 4 feet long, etched with markings, and glowing with a dazzling sword light. Sword intent swirled all around him. Master Blazing Mountain, are you getting involved too? Demon 13 said with a light smile. This is between my young master and that woman. It might not be your place to interfere. I don't know this man, and I don't like him either, the red-robed woman quickly said, shaking her head. You're putting my young master in a tough spot. You clearly just said you felt an instant connection. How can you take it back? Demon 13 snorted. Sir, I'll apologize on her behalf. Can we let this go? Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword said, bowing slightly. No can do. If you insist on standing in my way, I'll suppress you too, Demon 13 said calmly. He waved his hand, and a black-tinged staff appeared in the air and dropped into his hand. He tapped the ground with it. With a loud boom, Samadhi flames erupted, turning into a sea of fire that surged toward the two. Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword shielded the red-robed woman, his eyes serious. The sword in his hand released massive sword intent, cutting down from the sky like a tidal wave. It was a powerful strike, but their gap in strength was too wide. Demon 13's fire casually devoured the sword wave and then continued on, about to engulf them both. Seeing this, Qingmu Xian in the nearby pavilion narrowed her eyes. She pulled out a small jade bottle from her sleeve. A single crystal-clear drop of water fell from it. She caught the drop with her hand, where blue and purple spiritual energy swirled. She flicked the water droplet, and just before the fire reached Blazing Mountain Heaven Sword and the woman, the drop turned into a vast ocean. One drop transformed into a sea. This vast sea absorbed all of Demon 13's flames. Then it turned back into a droplet and returned to Qingmu Xian's hand. The moment it landed in her palm, It shattered with a soft pop and turned into steam. Qingmu Xian's eyes narrowed. She knew exactly what kind of water was inside that bottle. Losing even a single drop was no small matter. "You're stepping in too?" Demon 13 asked calmly. "Senior, you're thousands of years older than us. Bullying juniors like this isn't appropriate," Qingmu Xian said softly. Her clear eyes were like still water. "I'm not bullying anyone. I'm just following my young master's orders," Demon 13 replied. "I believe that unless it's a deep personal grudge, matters between the younger generation should be resolved among themselves. If seniors interfere, don't think Nine Lands' Immortal Palace will just let it slide," Qingmu Xian said. "You want to bring destruction to your sect?" Su Zimo said calmly as he turned from his pavilion. "Then prepare to pay the price for your words," Qingmu Xian replied firmly. "Nine Lands' Immortal Palace may only have one Grand Emperor, but within the Nine Lands region, they never feared anyone. The reason I haven't acted is that I might kill you all by accident. You don't even make me want to make a move," Su Zimo said, shaking his head. "Who's this bold fellow?" A voice came from above. A large group descended the stairs. Leading them was a young man in white robes, long hair, and a scholarly aura. He had sharp eyebrows, a calm smile, and his long hair was tied and draped down his back. As he walked, a powerful and indescribable aura surrounded him. "It's Nanmen Tianhong," someone whispered nearby. "This is getting interesting. Everyone knows he's been courting Qingmu Xian, and their elders support the match. No way. Aren't they both aiming for the heaven's will? How could they become Dao partners?" The crowd murmured and gossiped. "Xianer, what's going on?" Nanmen Tianhong asked gently as he approached. "Please call me Qingmu Xian. We're not that close," she replied coldly. Nanmen Tianhong smiled, unfazed. Someone stepped forward to explain the situation briefly. Nanmen Tianhong looked at Su Zimo and said, "Brother, I've invited all the young elites here today. Could you let this go, just this once? It was only a joke. You're hosting the party and I'm freeloading. I guess I should give you some face," Su Zimo said with a smile. "How about we play a game?" "Oh? What kind of game?" Nanmen Tianhong asked curiously. "I'll strike 3 times. If you can take all 3, I'll drop the matter. If not, you kill her yourself. How's that sound?" Su Zimo grinned. "This is your chance to be a hero. Her life is in your hands." Before Nanmen Tianhong could answer, others nearby started shouting. "Outrageous! Who do you think you are? The Holy Son of Supreme Tower spoke kindly to you out of courtesy, and you repay him like this? Know your place. Must be some nobody from a backwater. So arrogant, I could crush him with one hand." Amid the noisy protests, Nanmen Tianhong waved his hand to silence everyone. He looked at Su Zimo with growing interest. "Honestly, you intrigue me. It's been a while since I've met someone this bold. I wonder, are you truly confident? Or just overconfident? If you won't play, I'll kill her myself. The rest of you can all come at me. It'll be a hassle, but that's fine too," Su Zimo replied. "All right, 3 moves it is. Let's see if you can surprise me," Nanmen Tianhong said. "I've been getting bored of Supreme Tower. Time to meet some real talent from beyond." He stared calmly at Su Zimo, his white robes fluttering in the breeze. Chapter 592, Defeat. Looking at Nanmen Tianhong's confident expression, Su Zimo smiled. He casually waved his hand, and blade intent surrounded his body. The blade intent was dense and sharp. With a flick of his wrist, the blade intent formed a massive blade shadow floating in the air. It was over 10 meters long, surrounded by deadly energy. As Su Zimo waved his right hand again, the blade shadow tore through layers of space, moving like a stream of light, and slashed directly toward Nanmen Tianhong. Seeing this powerful strike, Nanmen Tianhong spread his arms. The spirit force around him glowed with rainbow colors, and all that energy gathered in front of his chest, forming a barrier. When the blade shadow hit the barrier, a sharp hissing sound rang out. Before Nanmen Tianhong could react, the blade shattered the barrier and sliced it in 2. With a loud boom, the blade exploded inside the pavilion, sending dust flying everywhere. The surrounding space cracked and collapsed. Everyone stared at the dust-filled area. Nanmen Tianhong's figure slowly appeared. He looked at Su Zimo with a serious expression. He raised his right hand, revealing a bleeding wound on his wrist. He paused and said, "You're very good." "That was the first move," Su Zimo replied calmly with a smile. Then he slowly drew the blade on his back. Shadow Tyrant. The moment it left its sheath, its powerful aura shot straight into the sky. It was as if the heavens above the boundless tower had been split open. Shadow Tyrant seemed to hum lightly, and an overwhelming blade intent filled the second floor. 19 forms of Tao seeking, 15th form. All creation deathly silence. Between life and death lies great terror. Su Zimo always remembered this. The blade intent began to change. A silent, emotionless deathly aura spread through the air. It felt like it wanted to erase everything in existence. The once invisible blade intent turned black. The black blade intent filled the air, gathering above like a flood, threatening to swallow everything. The aura of death mixed with the blade's power. It was like the sky had been punctured, and a black flood poured down. Everything under that flood would be erased. Before the flood even landed, the lotus flowers in the nearby lake began to wither. The fish weakened and floated lifelessly to the surface. Everyone below felt like their life force was being drained as the flood approached. They panicked and used their own energy to resist it. What kind of move is this? Why is it so terrifying? No idea. Good thing we're just watching from the side. If that move was aimed at us, we'd be dead before we could even fight back. At this moment, Nanmen Tianhong couldn't care about the chatter. He looked up at the falling flood and shouted, "8 aspects world." With that shout, 8 different domain energies burst from his body, surrounding him. Each domain had a different aura and color, displaying the various states of all beings, some crying, some laughing, some living freely, others doing evil. "This is Nanmen Tianhong's 8 aspects world," someone whispered. "Yeah. It said he created this technique after studying the secret techniques of 8 different emperors. Well, he has the resources. Supreme Tower doesn't have an emperor, but they're close with the other 8 major cities. The strength of the 9 lands comes from their unity." That might be true, but this other young man is something else. He forced Nanmen Tianhong to use his 8 aspects move on just the second attack. And in Supreme Tower, Nanmen Tianhong is too proud to use it unless he has no choice. As the deadly flood came crashing down from the sky, Nanmen Tianhong's 8 aspects world burst into brilliant light. The 8 domains circled like wheels, and eventually, they swallowed the flood. A deafening explosion followed. Felt like the whole world shook, as if it might fall apart. The blast was so loud it hurt the ears. When it spread out, a wave of energy burst from Nanmen Tianhong's position and swept through the area. Some couldn't dodge in time and were sent flying. The pavilions on both sides were destroyed and collapsed into the lake below. Ripples spread across the green lake, and the dead fish washed ashore. The space around Nanmen Tianhong had been completely torn apart. As the dust settled and people looked again, they saw Nanmen Tianhong kneeling on one knee, breathing heavily. His white robe was torn in several places, his hair messy and scattered. His face was covered in dust, and his eyes were unfocused and lifeless. "Holy Son Nanmen," someone called out. "He actually lost," another said in disbelief. "2 moves," Su Zimo said plainly. "Who are you?" Nanmen Tianhong asked, standing and staring at him. "You don't need to know that," Su Zimo replied. "Do you still want to take the 3rd move? Your 8 aspects world won't be able to block it." "No need. Even if I could block it, what would it prove? I'm not as strong as you. Continuing would just be embarrassing," Nanmen Tianhong said after a pause, shaking his head. "Then let's follow the agreement," Su Zimo said. Nanmen Tianhong turned and looked at the red-robed woman. But before anything else could happen, Qing Muxian quickly stepped forward and said, "Nanmen Tianhong, this is a matter for 9 Lands Immortal Palace. It's not your place to interfere. Before she finished speaking, a scream rang out. The red-robed woman had collapsed in a pool of blood. Someone behind her had struck without warning. "You're dead!" Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword shouted and rushed at the attacker like a madman. The attacker didn't fight back and let Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword cut him to pieces beside the lake. Everyone looked at Nanmen Tianhong with fear. Nobody recognized the man who attacked. But it was obvious. Nanmen Tianhong had prepared a backup plan in case he lost the bet. Chapter 593, I Am the Heavenly Blade. This guy wasn't just incredibly talented. He was also ruthless and decisive. It was obvious that the one who attacked from behind was Nanmen Tianhong's backup plan, maybe even a trained killer. Nanmen Tianhong, what happened today outside of the Nine Lands region? I, Qingmu Xian, will remember it, Qingmu Xian said angrily. Nanmen Tianhong smiled without responding. He neither denied it nor admitted it. Blazing Mountain Heaven's sword had killed the attacker, but he still had some reason left. He didn't fight Nanmen Tianhong. Instead, he held the body and cried bitterly. Nanmen Tianhong turned to Su Zimo and said, "Tell me your name. In a few years, when I've grown stronger, I'll come challenge you again. I wander constantly. Even if I told you my name, you wouldn't be able to find me." Su Zimo shook his head. "And I don't like fighting people I've already beaten. Let's wait for the day of heaven's will. Hope you live that long." "I'll remember you," Nanmen Tianhong said, staring hard at Su Zimo, then turned and left. Many others followed him up the ascending cloud steps. Qingmu Xian also looked at Su Zimo and said calmly, "Our Nine Lands Immortal Palace elders will handle this matter. Let them come find me. Even if Grand Emperor Qin Yang himself were alive, so what?" Su Zimo said with a light laugh. "So arrogant." Qingmu Xian frowned and left with the other girls. "That saintess from the Immortal Palace doesn't have much patience," Su Zimo said, shaking his head to Demon 13. "She's only decent in appearance. Most people love money and beauty. It's human nature," Demon 13 replied. "Good looks already give a big advantage. Will you rest here in Boundless Tower tonight, young master?" "Yeah, just pick a pavilion to relax in," Su Zimo nodded. "Once we get that travel pass tomorrow, we'll head straight to Void Valley." Even though Su Zimo showed terrifying power today, Nanmen Tianhong's influence in Supreme Tower was still too strong. So no one dared approach or try to befriend Su Zimo. The atmosphere in Boundless Tower was still lively, even though it was already late. The moonlight was soft, reflecting gently on the now calm, shimmering lake. Su Zimo rested his head on his arm and looked up at the sky from the pavilion. He said calmly, "Since you're already here, why bother hiding?" As soon as he finished speaking, a dark figure appeared outside the pavilion. Xiao Mo, dressed in black, held a black wine jug. The scent of the wine spread for miles. He slowly walked in. "What do you want?" Su Zimo asked, glancing sideways. "I'm interested in you," Xiao Mo said, taking a big swig of wine and sitting at the other side of the pavilion. The breeze lifted his bangs. "Nanmen Tianhong hasn't been humbled like that in a long time," he said with a light laugh. "Oh? Just because of that?" Su Zimo asked. "I've always been drawn to strong opponents. Fighting helps refine my sword path," Xiao Mo said. "To see thousands of different paths. In every group of 3, someone can be my teacher. You're not ready. Challenging me now will only hurt your Dao heart." Su Zimo shook his head. "Grow more first." "How would I know without trying?" Xiao Mo turned his head, eyes burning with fighting spirit as he looked at Su Zimo. "You really think your sword domain is unbeatable?" Su Zimo asked quietly. "If one can't enter the sword domain, they don't understand the sword," Xiao Mo replied firmly. "To understand the sword domain, we first need to understand what a domain is. Every weapon has its own domain once it's mastered to the extreme. That domain can influence the surrounding environment. Inside a domain, the weapon's power can be fully unleashed, can even change terrain to suit the wielder. Among the younger generation, Su Zimo had met many, but Xiao Mo was the only one who truly mastered a domain. Are you looking down on my sword domain? Xiao Mo chuckled. Your arrogance runs deep, huh? Do you really understand weapon domains? Su Zimo smiled and shook his head. Then watch this blade. He casually drew Shadow Tyrant from its sheath. It glowed with cold light. With a casual swing, a blade aura shot toward Xiao Mo. Xiao Mo's hairs stood on end. He felt a chill down his spine, the sharpness unbearable. He froze. His hand gripped his sword's hilt tightly, but he couldn't move. In his eyes, everything around him turned to darkness. Within the darkness, countless blade auras raged. Tens of thousands, millions, maybe even billions. They felt like they could destroy everything. Xiao Mo had only one thought. He couldn't block this attack no matter what. His sword domain wouldn't work. He himself wasn't enough. As the blade aura passed by his ear, it sliced off a few strands of his hair. The blade hit the lake, causing only the tiniest ripple. As the ripple faded, those strands of black hair slowly drifted down. Silence, deathly quiet. Only Xiao Mo's heavy breathing could be heard. He looked up, eyes intense, and asked, "What was that?" "Blade aura," Su Zimo replied. "No, that's not what I saw." Xiao Mo shook his head. "Then you'll have to discover it for yourself." Su Zimo smiled. "I'll just tell you one thing. I am the Heavenly Blade. The blade domain is me." Xiao Mo repeated those words to himself, then stood and bowed deeply to Su Zimo. "Thank you for the lesson," he said seriously. Su Zimo waved him off, telling him he could leave. Su Zimo spent the entire night reflecting and understanding his own power. When daylight came, he slowly opened his eyes. "What time is it?" he asked Demon 13, who had been standing nearby. "It's already noon," Demon 13 replied. "Let's go," Su Zimo said as he stood up and nodded. Boundless Tower was quieter now. Most of the other young elites had already left. But the battle between Su Zimo and Nanmen Tianhong had already spread across all of Tower City. People were saying someone defeated Nanmen Tianhong in just 2 moves. Su Zimo didn't care about the gossip. The night terror slowly made its way toward the city center, where they would get their travel permit. But halfway there, the carriage was stopped. A few men stood in the road. They wore red robes, official-style black hats, and carried curved blades at their waists. "What do you want?" Demon 13 asked them. "Our master would like to invite the gentleman in the carriage to meet him," the leader said politely. Chapter 594, The Tower King. "Who is your master?" Demon 13 asked with a frown. "You'll know once you arrive," the man replied with a smile. "My master said that if the young lord refuses to come, he may not be able to leave Tower City." "That's a bold statement," Demon 13 snorted and looked at Su Zimo in the carriage. "Let's go have a look." "I think I already know who it is," Su Zimo replied calmly. Several red-robed men led the way, and the night terror carriage followed closely behind. They passed through several bustling streets filled with people and finally arrived at a large mansion. The royal mansion of Supreme Tower. This estate took up half the street. It wasn't flashy with gold or jewels, but the green bricks and glazed tiles were all made from top-tier materials. At the front were 2 massive red lion statues, faintly glowing with a threatening aura. From a distance, they looked almost alive. "This must be the High King of Supreme Tower," Demon 13 remarked with interest. "You'll know soon," the red-robed guard replied. They followed the guard through rock gardens and flowing water, past grand courtyards and elegant side rooms, until they reached a quiet and secluded courtyard. In front of the courtyard were 2 massive cloud mist trees. These trees had undergone some sort of transformation, giant white trunks with golden leaves and branches. During the day they looked normal, but at night they glowed brightly. "This is as far as I go. Please head in yourselves," the red-robed guard said before turning and leaving. "Guess it's not the High King himself," Demon 13 said. "Otherwise, it wouldn't be this roundabout." Su Zimo smiled and stepped into the courtyard. Near a side room was a small, elegant pavilion. Inside sat a woman flanked by 2 maids. Though older, she was well-preserved and carried herself with grace. She wore a light green silk robe. Her skin was pale and smooth, her long black hair neatly pinned into a bun with jade hairpins. She wore coral bracelets and red jade bangles, white as snow, red as fire, vivid and eye-catching. Seeing Su Zimo enter, one of the maids stepped forward and said with a smile, "Young lord, Our Lady invites you to sit in the pavilion." Su Zimo smiled and walked over, casually taking a seat on a stone stool. "You must be the one who sparred with my son Honger?" the woman asked with a smile. Su Zimo didn't answer directly. "You're the queen of Supreme Tower?" She smiled and nodded slightly. On the table was a pot of freshly brewed tea, its aroma filling the air, refreshing and subtly fragrant. A maid poured the tea carefully and placed the cups in front of both of them. "What should I call you?" the queen asked. "My surname is Su," Su Zimo replied. "I don't have much time. Say what you want." "You're a straightforward man. I like that," the queen said. "I invited you here about the fight between you and my son. I need a favor." "What kind of favor?" Su Zimo asked. "News of that duel is spreading all over Supreme Tower City. They say the holy son of Supreme Tower was defeated in just 2 moves and doesn't deserve the title," she said with a soft laugh. "Honger has never suffered such a blow, especially not since becoming the holy son. I fear it could affect his cultivation and confidence. So I'd like you to make a public statement to clear things up," she said. "What kind of statement?" Su Zimo asked, lifting his teacup with interest. "Just say it was a friendly duel, a draw. Nothing as serious as a 2-move defeat," she replied. "But a lot of people saw it with their own eyes," Su Zimo chuckled. "Those elites know how things work. I'm just trying to silence the common folks." She shook her head. "Beating someone I don't even take seriously doesn't mean much to me. When I one day reach the level of Grand Emperor, who in the world won't know my name?" Su Zimo smiled. "I'll make a statement, but what's in it for me? You'll earn the friendship of Supreme Tower. Isn't that enough?" she asked with a gentle smile. "No offense, but I don't care much for alliances even with imperial lineages," Su Zimo replied. "Give me something real." "Must we be so blunt?" The queen's eyes narrowed. "To be honest, if you agree, you'll walk out of this mansion safely. Otherwise, I don't need to say more, do I?" As her voice faded, 3 figures appeared around the courtyard. An old man, a burly middle-aged man, and a short child. As they approached, Demon 13 frowned slightly. "I know you beat my Honger. Among the younger generation, few can match you," the queen said with a smile. "But these 3 are my family's enforcers. Each one has peak Empyrean Meridian strength. Even my son can't beat them one-on-one, let alone the 3 of them together." "Tiny brain. That phrase suits you perfectly." Su Zimo laughed and shook his head. He slowly lifted the teapot and poured himself a cup. "Demon 13, before I finish this tea, I don't want to see them alive." Demon 13's cultivation was only at the first step of the immortal path, and he still carried internal injuries. But these so-called peak Empyrean Meridian cultivators were no match for him. The Queen of Supreme Tower had clearly underestimated Su Zimo, still seeing him as just part of the younger generation. Nanmen Tianhong might be famous in the Ninelands region, but he was still only just starting to approach the Empyrean Meridian realm. At higher levels, breaking through the Meridian gates was incredibly difficult. Before one's heavens were formed, reaching the God Meridian realm was already exceptional. After all, almost everyone competing for Heaven's will was at the God Meridian realm. Those with a lower realm couldn't qualify. Those who broke through to the immortal path could no longer participate in the competition for the Heaven's will. So the best stage for it was exactly the God Meridian realm. As Su Zimo spoke, Demon 13's eyes flickered with black flames. A powerful aura burst forth. A black magic staff appeared in his hand from thin air. Chapter 595, Heading to the Void Valley. As soon as the magic staff appeared, Demon 13 held it and gently swiped his right hand. Fierce winds stirred, and raging flames swept through the entire courtyard, setting it ablaze. The 3 opponents were shocked. The old man stabbed a dry piece of wood into the ground, which immediately grew into a towering tree, rich with spirit force, shielding him completely. The burly middle-aged man was surrounded by golden light, with the sound of lion roars echoing faintly. His muscles bulged, exuding a powerful aura. As for the child, a red mark appeared on his forehead. He now had two heads, laughing eerily, surrounded by countless ghostly faces, chilling to behold. As the firestorm swept in, the three of them roared. Heaven-burning demonic fire, Demon 13 snorted. In an instant, the sea of fire turned pitch black, like dark ink covering half the sky. Crackling sounds came from the flames. Before the three could even scream, they were completely consumed. The surrounding courtyard was burned to ashes. After killing them, Demon 13 pointed his staff at the queen, intending to strike her down too. Just as she was about to die, a massive hand reached out from the void and clashed with the magic staff. With a loud boom, the surrounding space shattered. Demon 13 was forced back half a step, while a muffled grunt came from the void, and that space collapsed entirely. With just one move, the difference in strength was obvious. Enough! A cold shout echoed out. At the courtyard entrance, a man in a green robe walked in, flanked by two guards. His stride was confident and powerful. The man's gaze was stern, his face slightly sunken, his eyes like a hawk's, piercing and intense. He had a long black beard and radiated the natural aura of someone used to commanding others. "What's going on here?" the man asked with a frown. Then, from the cracked void, the person who had blocked Demon 13 emerged, an old man in a wide green robe, standing quietly behind him. "Husband!" The shocked queen finally regained her senses and cried out. She pointed at Su Zimo in fear and said, "He tried to kill me. So you can try to kill me, but I'm not allowed to fight back?" Su Zimo chuckled. "Who are you?" the High King of Supreme Tower asked, eyes narrowing. "You should ask your wife," Su Zimo replied. This man was the ruler of Tower City. But to clarify, though Supreme Tower had risen through Tower City, it also governed Tower City in return. So while the High King of Supreme Tower managed the city, he was only a part of the Supreme Tower faction, not its ruler. The queen whispered a few words into the king's ear. "Ridiculous." The High King of Supreme Tower snorted and scolded her. "Since when do you make decisions in my royal household? If Honger had a problem, let him deal with it. Why are you interfering?" "I was just worried his mental state might be affected," the queen said nervously, lowering her head. "Mr. Su, I apologize on her behalf," the High King of Supreme Tower said sincerely. "She's just a mother worried for her child. I hope you won't hold it against her. Why not join me for a banquet as a form of apology?" "No need for a banquet. I just hope this doesn't happen again." Su Zimo waved his hand and said calmly, "If it does, she dies. Anyone who gets in my way dies too." With that, he turned and left with Demon 13. The High King of Supreme Tower watched his back, eyes narrowing slightly but saying nothing. "Husband, I didn't mean to cause trouble," the queen said cautiously. "I know, but those enforcers were summoned by me," the king replied calmly. "You think they'd obey you without my orders?" "Then earlier?" she asked, surprised. "Honger is our best hope to compete for heaven's will in this generation," the king said. "He was suddenly defeated, and I wanted to see who this young man really was. I couldn't step in personally, things would have escalated. So I used you as a cover. I just didn't expect to lose 3 of our top enforcers for nothing." "Then why not keep him here?" she asked. The king smiled faintly and shook his head. "Go back now." Once the queen left, he turned to the old man and asked, "What happened?" "He's very strong," the elder replied, lifting his blackened right hand, which was corroded with faint demonic energy. "Unless our patriarch steps in, no one in Tower City can stop him. Find out who he is. For now, leave it be," the king said. "I'll report this to Supreme Tower." After leaving the royal mansion, Su Zimo went to the center of Tower City to get a travel pass. The registration area was a large hall with 3 long lines. Many were heading to Void Valley. Unlike other forbidden lands, where survival was uncertain, this one still drew risk-takers. By afternoon, Su Zimo had his pass. It didn't require much, but the annoying part was that the pass was single-use. If you wanted to go again, you had to apply all over. "You'll stay in Tower City," Su Zimo told Demon 13. "Tonight, take care of the queen. Then come join me in Void Valley." "Why not kill her earlier?" Demon 13 asked. "Killing her would make me an enemy of Supreme Tower. I don't fear them, but I don't want to waste time before reaching the valley," Su Zimo replied. "Besides, wiping out Supreme Tower brings me no gain. Killing the queen is just a warning to the king." "I understand," Demon 13 nodded. After saying goodbye, Su Zimo didn't linger. He began heading toward Void Valley. Night Terror, the beast pulling the carriage, could navigate there on its own once given directions. Tower City was far from Void Valley, but Su Zimo wasn't in a rush. He sat quietly in the carriage, cultivating and reflecting. As the sun set, casting its golden glow, Su Zimo's silhouette gradually disappeared into the distant horizon. Chapter 596, Path of No Return. The most chaotic place in the world was Void Valley. Since the beginning of the primordial heartlands, Void Valley had been known as a forsaken land. Its natural laws were unstable, and spatial disruptions were frequent. If not for the existence of the Void Tree, few would risk going there. After more than a month of travel, Su Zimo's carriage finally arrived at the outskirts of Void Valley one early morning. The sky had just begun to brighten, the moon and stars were fading, and a soft glow stretched across the horizon. As they got closer to the valley, more and more travelers appeared along the road. From afar, the entrance to Void Valley lay in a sunken mountain hollow. Though Su Zimo couldn't see into it yet, the sky above was striking. Unlike other areas, the space above the hollow was violent. Streams of spatial turbulence howled through, tearing the fabric of reality apart. The space struggled to mend itself but couldn't keep up with the rate of destruction. Though space is usually invisible, the shattered void looked like cracked glass, visible and alarming. Even the sunlight passing through cast broken reflections on the ground. "Did you hear? Old Du died in a spatial storm a few days ago. We were just drinking with him not long ago. Life really is unpredictable. Big deal. Everyone coming to Void Valley has their life hanging by a thread anyway. Just recently, the Yellow Crane Gang found a top-quality void tree. They traded that wood with the Zhou dynasty for tons of cultivation resources. That's why all these elite clan kids are nothing. We rogue cultivators are the real gamblers, wrestling with fate." In front of Void Valley was a small tea house with a few people chatting over tea. Weapons leaned against the tables. A banner on a wooden board read in bold characters, "No Return Tea House." When Su Zimo arrived, a man in yellow robes smirked and said, "New here." Su Zimo stepped down from the carriage and tied up Night Terror, smiling. "How can you tell? The real entrance to Void Valley is on the other side. This road you're on is the path of no return. Most first-timers don't know and accidentally enter it, never to come out." The tea house owner, a man in his 50s with graying hair, smiled at Su Zimo and added, "So I opened a tea house here to warn people." Su Zimo took interest and sat down. "What kind of tea do you serve?" "Just some homemade loose tea. Would you like some?" the owner asked. "Sure. I'll have a cup of tea." Su Zimo nodded. "You don't look like someone coming here for an adventure," the man in yellow robes commented. "I'm from out of town. Heard this place is famous and wanted to check it out." Su Zimo replied with a smile. "If you come from wealth, there's no need to risk this. Only desperate folks like us come here hoping to strike it lucky," the man said, shaking his head. "I've never been to Void Valley. Could you tell me what it's like?" Su Zimo asked. The tea house owner brought over a steaming pot of tea. Smelled fresh and pleasant, just right. "Void Valley? Let me explain simply," the owner said, sipping his own tea. "The valley is boundless. Even a lifetime isn't enough to explore it all. The main dangers are spatial turbulence and void beasts. Because of the unusual terrain, most living creatures can't survive there for long. Only the void tree can. Have there been any special events or rare creatures spotted inside? Su Zimo asked. He realized from the owner's answers that there was little reliable information. The valley had no borders, and the void spirit monkey had given no clues. How was he supposed to search? We don't know. We're not regulars in the valley. Just come by occasionally to try our luck. Even the tea house owner has never been in, the man in yellow robes said. If you want real intel, head 3 kilometers east to a small town. There's a family named Pai who've lived there for thousands of years, surviving by harvesting void wood. They might know more. Can you tell me more about this path of no return? Su Zimo asked. It's no secret. Just something newbies don't know. The owner chuckled. Spatial turbulence is the biggest threat in the valley, but usually it only appears occasionally. However, on the path of no return, turbulence is the most concentrated. Almost no one dares enter. Anyone who steps into it is instantly torn to pieces. No one's ever made it through? Su Zimo asked. Nope. They say even grand emperors can't make it in more than a few steps before turning back. The owner replied. Thanks, Su Zimo said. Standing up and placing a few spirit stones on the table, he got back on Nightmare's carriage. Leaving the path of no return, Su Zimo went to check out the official entrance to Void Valley. There was indeed only one entrance, paved with white granite, clearly maintained and constructed. Disciples from major factions stood guard at the gate. Anyone entering had to hand over their entry token. The entrance itself was a swirling vortex of warped space. Su Zimo saw people vanish as soon as they stepped in. He couldn't see the world inside at all. Still, he didn't rush in. He wanted to check out the town to the east first. Nightmare moved forward, and 3 kilometers wasn't far. Soon, Su Zimo arrived at a town called Void Town. It wasn't big or small. 2 ancient trees stood at the entrance, flanking a wooden gate with a rusty iron plaque that read Void Town in faded characters. The streets inside were lively enough, with small groups of travelers walking by. Vendors on both sides called out in calm tones. It wasn't bustling, but it wasn't deserted either. Excuse me, is there a family named Pai living in this town? Su Zimo stopped a passerby and asked with a smile. Chapter 597 Cosmic Ridge. You must be talking about Old Master Pai. He's the only one in town with that surname. The man replied with a smile. Why are you looking for him? I heard his family has lived here for generations. I want to ask him about the Void Valley, Su Zimo said. Well, you're asking the right person, the passerby said proudly with a grin. He continued. When Void Town was founded, Old Master Pai was among the first settlers. Even before the town existed, he was already living around here. His family has been trading void wood since his grandfather's time. They're the oldest lineage in this town. Where does he live? Su Zimo asked. Head east from here. The large old courtyard at the far eastern end of the town is his home, the man said, pointing the way. But he hasn't gone to the Void Valley in years. Rumor has it that both his son and daughter died there. Su Zimo nodded slightly, then walked toward the eastern part of the town. He looked around as he walked. Most of the people who survived in this town seemed to be lone cultivators with no backing. They risked their lives for void wood, which they then traded for cultivation resources. When Su Zimo reached the east side, he saw a few scattered homes. Near the edge of town stood a courtyard made of bricks and earth. Though the courtyard was large, it looked quite plain. Compared to the other houses nearby, it seemed a bit shabby. When Su Zimo arrived at the gate, the wooden door was black and old. He pushed it open and it creaked noisily. Inside the gate was a small passageway. On the right were many farming tools. The courtyard ahead was spacious, with many edible vegetables growing. A grapevine stood in the middle. An old man was crouched in the center of the yard, tending a pot on an iron rack over a fire. He seemed to be cooking breakfast and was sharpening a kitchen knife. When he noticed someone entering, the old man looked up with his cloudy eyes and asked, "What do you want?" Are you Old Master Pai? Su Zimo asked. Everyone around here calls me that. The old man nodded slightly. I'd like to ask you about the Void Valley, Su Zimo said with a smile. They say you're the most senior person in this town. I'm old. I've forgotten many things. You'd better ask someone else, Old Master Pai said, waving him off. After saying that, he looked back down and continued sharpening his knife and chopping vegetables. How about we make a deal? Su Zimo offered. You answer my questions, and I'll do something for you. I only have one request. If you can bring me the head of the Cosmic Sect's leader, I'll tell you everything I know. I'd even give up my life if needed. The old man said calmly, looking up. Cosmic Sect? Su Zimo asked, puzzled. Is it an imperial lineage? He didn't seem to have heard of them. Imperial lineage? What a joke! Old Master Pai scoffed. They're just a group of thugs who banded together. Just tell me the basics, Su Zimo said. Hundreds of years ago, before any imperial lineages controlled this place, the Void Valley was chaotic. A bunch of shady people formed the Cosmic Sect. They robbed those who risked their lives to gather void wood. If you resisted, they'd kill you, the old man said coldly, his eyes narrowing slightly. In recent years, now that imperial lineages have moved in, these things happen less often, but they still go on in secret. Where is the Cosmic Sect? Su Zimo asked. 10 miles south on Cosmic Ridge, the old man said, narrowing his eyes. Wait for me. I'll be back before dark, Su Zimo said, then turned and left. Strictly speaking, the Cosmic Sect wasn't really a sect. It was just a group of people gathered for personal gain. If nothing changed, once their interests were gone, they'd likely scatter. Cosmic Ridge was just an ordinary mountain. But ever since the Cosmic Sect settled there, the mountain gained a name, and ordinary folks stopped going near it. A breeze rustled through the thick forest. At the top of the ridge stood a village. Aside from guards stationed around the edges, a group of 7 or 8 people were sitting in the center of the village. Among them were a scruffy bearded man, a flashy noblewoman, and a refined-looking scholar. They were drinking and eating loudly, laughing without restraint. Big brother, I've already negotiated with the Zhou dynasty, the scholar said excitedly. Their representatives said if we offer 100 pieces of void wood every year, we can become their vassal force. Damn, that's outrageous. I only gather a few hundred pieces a year, and all our brothers need them for cultivation. One man grumbled. Third brother, don't say that again. The noblewoman quickly interrupted. The times are tough. We need Zhou's protection. It's like a shield. While they talked, a few thick wooden stakes were embedded in the ground nearby. Each stake had a person tied to it, women and children included. Their faces were full of fear. Their hair was messy. Some had already begun sobbing. Among them was a young boy who didn't stand out at first glance. But if you looked closely, his eyes were bright as stars. It was as if nothing in the world could escape his gaze. Sister, stop crying. It's annoying, the boy in white said naturally, though he was also tied to a stake. Next to him was a girl in a white dress, now stained with dirt. Her long hair covered much of her face, but you could still see her delicate features. Little Lee, we're done for this time. We're going to die, she said anxiously. Aren't you good with divinations and astrology? Can't you calculate something for us? I already did. Heaven won't abandon us. A noble person will come and save us. The boy in white replied calmly. Perhaps annoyed by all the crying, the scruffy bearded man stood up. With a chain blade in his hand, he looked at the captives and asked gruffly, Boss, do we kill them now or have some fun first? Chapter 598, The Boy in White. After hearing the scruffy man's words, a man in a black robe stood up. He smiled slightly and shook his head. No rush. These kids still have pure life essence in their bodies. It's at its best right now. We can use them for cultivation first. Everything else can wait. All right, Big Brother picks first, and the rest of us will split the rest afterward. The scruffy man said with a grin. Remember, our cultivation method is frowned upon by many. Don't ever let it leak out. Using others' life essence like this can only be done occasionally, otherwise we'll be seen as evil cultivators. The black-robed man warned seriously. Don't worry, big brother. Cosmic Sect has survived this long because we keep a low profile. We never cross the line. The noblewoman added, nodding. After they finished speaking, the black-robed man slowly walked to the group of captives. He casually pointed at a few children, and those he selected were taken to the back of the village. When he stopped in front of the boy in white, he let out a curious sound and said, "What a good-looking boy. I see your fate is unstable. Want me to read your fortune?" The boy in white said calmly. "Fortune-telling?" The man in black chuckled, rubbing his chin. "Interesting. Go ahead. If you get it right, I'll spare your life. If not, well, someone will definitely like that pretty face of yours. Tell me your birth date and time," the boy said steadily. The black-robed man gave him the information. The boy in white then closed his eyes. A faint energy swirled around him. It was daytime, so it wasn't easy to notice, but if you looked closely, you could see faint stars twinkling in the sky. After a short while, the boy slowly opened his eyes. His skin was already fair, and dressed in white robes. He now looked even paler, like he had been drained of strength. "Feng Bao, leader of the Cosmic Sect," he said calmly. "Not surprising. Anyone can find that out with enough effort," the man said, shaking his head. "You were born in the Eternal Prefecture to a fairly well-off family. But before you reached adulthood, your family fell apart. You had to go out into the world on your own, right?" the boy asked. A flicker of surprise crossed the man's eyes. No one knew his true background. This boy didn't seem capable of digging that up. "Interesting. Keep going," he said. "Being a rogue cultivator was tough. You wandered for 3 years and gained nothing. Then, during a life-or-death moment, you stumbled upon a legacy and inheritance. After that, your cultivation shot up and you began to make a name for yourself. A few hundred years ago, you came to Void Valley, teamed up with others, and founded the Cosmic Sect. That's when you started targeting Voidwood." The boy continued, "If I'm right, the legacy you found was left behind by a demonic cultivator. The method you practice now is not accepted by the world. It goes against the natural order." "What natural order? In this world, only the strong survive. Back then, I was worse than a dog," the man said coldly. "Look at me now. Don't talk to me about what's right or wrong." The boy in white said nothing more. "Kid, if you're so good at fortune-telling, why didn't you see that you'd end up in our hands?" the scholarly man nearby asked. "In this world, one can only read the fate of others, not their own," the boy replied. "Teach me your fortune-telling method, and I'll let you go," the black-robed man said. "There's no method. It's something I was born with." The boy shook his head. "I originally wanted to keep you around, but you know too much. I'll have to kill you," the man said darkly. "Aren't you curious about what I said earlier? About the chaotic energy around you, the omen of disaster?" the boy asked, looking up. "Then tell me," the man said, chuckling. As soon as he spoke, a powerful force suddenly descended from the sky. The moment it arrived, the surrounding space shattered. A fireball slammed down, destroying everything. With a loud boom, the fireball hit the ground, tearing it apart. A wave of energy exploded outward, leveling everything in its path. When the dust cleared, Su Zimo appeared, dressed in a purple robe, stepping out of the flames. He looked around at everyone and asked calmly, "Who's the boss of the Cosmic Sect?" The area fell silent. Everyone stepped back. "It's him," the boy in white said, pointing at the black-robed man in front of him. "Sir, I'm not Dash." The man tried to speak, but his words stopped short. Countless sword lights rained down from the sky. In an instant, every member of the Cosmic Sect in the village was beheaded. Thousands of heads fell to the ground. The scene was horrific. The ground was littered with blade marks and corpses. Su Zimo walked slowly up to the black-robed man, grabbed his head, and was about to leave. "Wait!" a voice called from behind. Suzimo turned and saw the boy in white looking at him. "What is it?" Suzimo asked. "You saved me. I owe no one anything. Let me read your fortune in return," the boy offered. "I didn't save you. I just killed them." "That has nothing to do with you," Suzimo replied.
No.
"Cause and effect. Either you kill me or let me repay you with a reading," the boy insisted. Suzimo waved his hand lightly, and his sword aura sliced through the ropes tying the boy down. "Fine. Go ahead," he said. "I need your birth date and time," the boy said. Suzimo thought for a moment, then gave him the information. The boy closed his eyes, his fingers moving quickly as he calculated. After a long time, he opened his eyes with a confused and stunned expression. "Why, you don't exist. This is impossible," he said in disbelief, looking at Suzimo. Suzimo just smiled. Ever since he had created a new era, he had severed his fate from the destiny of the primordial heartlands. Now no one could read his future, but the boy still seemed unwilling to give up. Chapter 599 Void Spirit Monkey. The boy in white waved his hands, and 3 coins along with a tortoiseshell fell from his sleeve. He placed the tortoiseshell on the ground and arranged the 3 coins pointing in different directions. Then he sat cross-legged, and a misty aura began to spread from around him. The 3 coins started spinning rapidly. As they spun, the coins, which were originally shiny and new, began to change. It was as if time reversed, and they became ancient coins. When they reached a certain point, there was a loud crack. All 3 coins shattered. Cracks also appeared on the tortoiseshell. The boy in white coughed up a mouthful of blood. It was bright red with a purplish hue, like a blooming rose. His white robe was stained with blood spots. He looked up at Suzimo and asked, "Who exactly are you? Aren't you the one who can tell?" Suzimo replied, "You don't exist. You're not part of this world," the boy said, shaking his head. "Not being able to read my fate is one thing, but how can I not exist?" "I'm standing right in front of you," Suzimo said with a smile. "You're from the Heavenjade Tower, aren't you?" "How do you know that?" the boy asked in surprise. "I've seen Ancestor Word King from your Heavenjade Tower before," Suzimo said. In his past life, during a major assembly held by the true martial sacred ground, Ancestor Word King had attended on behalf of Heavenjade Tower. That was when Suzimo first learned of the Heavenjade Tower. Now, seeing the boy's fortune-telling techniques reminded him of that elder. Back then, the elder had warned him that past lives and dreams were meaningless, but as the heir of true martial sacred ground, Suzimo hadn't taken the words seriously. Heavenjade Tower was a very mysterious group. When it came to predicting fate or disasters, most people thought of the Celestial Secrets Valley first. But few knew that there was an even more secretive organization, Heavenjade Tower. Those who knew of Heavenjade Tower understood that its members were all ordinary people. They had no cultivation and couldn't open their meridians. Yet few dared to harm them. It was said that they were connected to the heavenly Tao and acted as its messengers in the mortal world. Whoever killed a member of Heavenjade Tower would suffer divine retribution. Of course, this was just a rumor. No one knew if it was true. "So you've met Ancestor Word King. I guess my skills aren't good enough yet, which is why I couldn't read your origin," the boy in white said, shaking his head. "We only met once. That's all. I won't keep you. Until next time." Suzimo replied with a smile and headed back to Old Master Pai's house. As he watched Suzimo leave, the boy in white wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and began untying the others. "Even Little E has someone he can't read?" the girl in the white dress joked. "There are too many capable people in this world." "He's not the only one I can't read," the boy said, shaking his head. After leaving Cosmic Sect, Suzimo quickly returned to Void Town. Right now, he was practically at the top of the world. With his God Meridian cultivation, he was among the strongest in this era, where no true ancestors walked the earth. To him, the once feared Cosmic Sect was no more threatening than ants. Dusk was falling. The last light of the day stretched across the sky. Leaves drifted in the wind. Some who returned from Void Valley were happy, others filled with sorrow. Results and survival varied. When Suzimo entered the courtyard again, he saw Old Master Pai sitting in a rocking chair, eyes closed in rest. Suzimo casually tossed the black-robed man's head to him. Old Master Pai slowly opened his eyes and was stunned. He stared at the head on the ground in silence for a long time. His voice choked as he said, "You really killed him? Isn't the head right in front of you?" Suzimo replied, "Can we talk now?" The old man didn't say anything. He hunched over, picked up the head, and walked toward the back of the courtyard. Suzimo followed him through a cool, shaded corridor and into the backyard. It was very clean. In front were 2 earthen graves. Several cypress trees were planted nearby. A wooden plaque marked the grave. It read, "Grave of my son, Pai Yunlei." Suzimo didn't interrupt. The old man placed the head in front of the grave and sat in silence for a long time. Tears streamed down his face. Eventually, he stood up, walking back to the front yard as he asked, "What do you want to know? Besides void trees and void beasts, have you ever seen any other living creatures in Void Valley?" Suzimo asked. "What do you mean?" the old man asked, puzzled. "I'm looking for a creature called the Void Spirit Monkey," Suzimo said. "I've never seen anything like that, nor heard of others seeing it," Old Master Pai replied. "But if you're looking for a monkey, there might be something that could help." He led Suzimo into a back room and searched through a cabinet. After a while, he pulled out an iron box. Though it had been well preserved, it still showed signs of rust and age. He struggled to open the box. The moment the lid opened, a golden light shot into the sky. Thankfully, Suzimo reacted quickly, sealing the surroundings to keep the light from attracting attention. The whole room lit up with dazzling brilliance. Even after hundreds of years, it's still this radiant, the old man sighed. Inside the golden light was a small monkey statue. It was tiny, but the golden glow was intense, and the craftsmanship made it look lifelike. When Suzimo looked at it, he felt as if the statue had come to life, like a real monkey jumping in front of him. It seemed to sense the heavens and earth, move through the void, and shift stars, capable of bypassing any seal in the world. Suzimo didn't know why, but the statue gave him this powerful illusion. Then, when he blinked, the illusion disappeared, leaving only the glowing statue. "What is this?" Suzimo asked in surprise. "I've never seen any other creatures, but when I was young, I once got lost in Void Valley," the old man said. "I wandered into a valley and heard strange sounds. When I rushed over, there was nothing there, just this little monkey statue left on the ground." Chapter 600, The Void Tree. "Where exactly in the Void Valley did you find that monkey statue?" Suzimo asked. "You've heard of the Path of No Return, haven't you?" Old Master Pai asked. "Yes, they say the spatial turbulence there is so intense that even void trees can't survive. That's why it's called the Path of No Return." Suzimo nodded. "That's right. Once you enter the Void Valley, keep heading north for several hundred kilometers, and you'll reach the border between the safe zone and the Path of No Return," Old Master Pai explained. "The valley where I found the monkey statue was right at that border." "Can I have this golden monkey statue?" Suzimo asked. "You can take it, but I have a theory. Want to hear it?" the old man replied. "Go ahead," Suzimo nodded. "If the creature you're looking for, the Void Spirit Monkey, really exists, and this statue somewhat proves it does, then why hasn't anyone seen it in tens of thousands of years?" Old Master Pai continued. "There's only one explanation. It's been hiding somewhere living beings can't reach." "You mean the Path of No Return?" Suzimo said. "It's just my guess," the old man nodded. "If it were in the safe zone, someone would have seen it by now. But in the Path of No Return, it could stay hidden for tens of thousands of years. And if that's the case, it'll be troublesome, because we can't enter the Path of No Return." "I'll figure something out," Suzimo said, taking the golden monkey statue. After chatting a bit more, he said goodbye and left. The statue felt heavy in his hand, but other than that, there was no special sensation. Since it constantly gave off dazzling golden light, Suzimo stored it in his god world to avoid trouble. Not wasting any time, he summoned Night Terror from his god world and headed to the Void Valley's entrance. The area was guarded 24/7. Even though it was already dark, small groups of people were still going in. "Travel pass?" a guard in blue clothes lazily asked at the entrance. Suzimo handed him the pass, and the guard let him through. Staring at the swirling, distorted space vortex in front of him, Suzimo walked straight in. He immediately felt weightless, as if he were floating and falling at the same time. The feeling lasted a while, and it felt like he was being wrapped in soft space. Suddenly, his vision brightened. He fell to the ground and felt solid again. Looking around, the landscape was beyond barren. There wasn't a single blade of grass. As far as the eye could see, there was no life at all. The ground was completely bare, and deep rumbling noises echoed from beneath the crust. Suzimo got his bearings and started walking north. After climbing a hill and taking only a few steps, he saw a figure flying at him through the void. Reacting quickly, he punched the dark figure. It let out a pained cry and flew backward. Before he could see it clearly, it disappeared into the void again. "A void beast," Suzimo muttered with a frown. He clenched his right hand, and powerful spirit force spread out, freezing the surrounding void completely. At that moment, space shattered in front of him, and a massive beast lunged forward with its jaws wide open. Suzimo snorted and grabbed its front leg. Shifting his body slightly to dodge the attack, he channeled the power of creation and smashed the beast into the ground several times. After a few strikes, the beast stopped resisting. As it lay dying, Suzimo got a clear look at it. It was a pale, almost transparent creature. Its body resembled a fish, covered in hard scales, but it had 4 short legs. Its eyes were tiny like beans, and a sharp horn grew above its nose. Before Suzimo could do anything else, the beast died on the spot. After death, its body dissolved into mist and merged with the void, leaving nothing behind. Suzimo had read that, apart from spatial turbulence, void beasts were one of the most hated things in the valley. They could hide in the void and attack by surprise. Low-level cultivators couldn't freeze the space to defend themselves. And worst of all, killing a void beast yielded nothing. Their bodies were part of the void itself, born from nothing, and returning to nothing. Ignoring all this, Suzimo kept heading toward the northern border. He traveled through the Void Valley all night. As morning came, the sky inside the valley brightened. The place was even more barren than a desert. Along the way, Suzimo saw only a few abandoned tents others had left behind. Suzimo spent 7 full days traveling through the Void Valley. Around noon on the 7th day, he heard the sound of fighting up ahead. This was the first time he had encountered anyone else since arriving. The clash of blades and a loud, angry voice rang out in the distance. "Qin Yuan, I discovered this void tree first. Do you really want to fight me to the death over it? Zhang Kiheo, rare treasures belong to the fated. Just because you saw it doesn't mean it's yours." The two voices argued as Suzimo walked closer and saw them fighting. One wore black, the other white. Both wielded swords and had cultivation at the Paragon Meridian realm. Their sword aura raged around them. In front of the two men stood 3 trees. Because of the distance, Suzimo couldn't see them clearly at first. He approached step by step. The 2 fighters didn't notice him. After a few strides, Suzimo reached the void trees. Only 3 trees stood there, each surrounded by thick spatial energy. The space around them wasn't extremely distorted. The void trees were just over a meter tall, pale white with a hint of transparency. Each tree had only 1 branch, and each branch had just 1 bright green leaf. The tree trunks were etched with curving patterns, spiraling from top to bottom. "Someone's stealing the void trees." The 2 men suddenly noticed Suzimo and yelled, rushing at him. "Annoying," Suzimo said casually. With a wave of his hand, he knocked them both flying.